Alright, we are live. Trying to get in contact with the Beans to see if she is awake for the finale of Star Wars Brotherhood. Just my camera. Star Wars Brotherhood finale in preparation to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan already came out. I have not watched it yet because I want to watch it. I want to watch it with her, so I have not watched it yet, but I will watch it later today, and we'll have a review on it on our D4 YouTube channel. I am super excited. So today we're gonna finish. Brotherhood. We're finishing this book today. We only have a few more chapters to go, so it's not bad. Yeah, we're almost done. We're almost done. So wait for the Beans to get in here, and then we will get started. She might be sleeping. I hope not. Let me text her brother and see if she's awake. Yo, what's up, Nose? The finale is upon us. Today Obi-Wan came out. I have not watched it yet because I'm planning on watching it with Beanie later today. But yo, I am so excited, bro. How's your day going, by the way? Dang, Beans is sleeping. The finale is upon us. Alright, so Beans is sleeping, so I'll probably just get started and she'll catch up later. Oh, sweet. Me and my girl gotta check that out. Yeah, bro. Oh my! If you have Disney Plus, check it out, bro. It's gonna be freaking awesome. I have not seen it yet. The first two episodes came out today, and then I think after this week it'll be on every Wednesday. But yeah, man, it looks based on the trailers they showed me and what they said on Star Wars Celebration the other day. I'm very excited for this show. It's going good. Got out in the sun and read some Harry Potter. About to play Ghost of Tsushima with a pal, and then I'm gonna play Mafia later and dress up like a mob boss. Yo, all right, I can't wait to see that shit. Oh yeah, speaking about Harry Potter, did you see? I can't remember. It might have been yesterday or a couple of days ago. They showed a trailer for the game that's coming out for the PS5. Bro, that shit looks so good. I'm definitely getting that. I know you're definitely getting that too. That's something to look forward to for streaming. It looks really good. I don't know when it's coming out. I think it's next year. I think next year it's coming out. I don't want to say this year because that seems too soon because the reveal happened like this year. So I think next year that game's coming out. But bro, that Harry Potter game, it looks so good. I'm definitely getting that shit. Put this in the background. Beans, you made it. I was just about to start because I texted your brother and he said you were sleeping. So I was like, let me not try to wake you up. Bro, I'm telling you, that shit looks amazing. I know, right? I'ma stream that till my eyes and hands hurt. Oh, I know you will, bro. I can't wait to see you stream that shit. That shit gonna be great. Oh, it's coming out this year? Damn, that was quick. Literally, because the teaser and the trailers for the Harry Potter game literally came out like earlier this year. That's crazy. That means it must have been in development for a while then. Shit. All right, then we are luck. we have something to look forward to this holiday season. Holy crap! Oh, look at that shit. Wonders never cease, bro. I can't wait, bro. I hope it's like 2-player multiplayer, like Elden Ring. We could play that shit together. That'd be great. I doubt it probably, but it'd be awesome if we could do that. That'd be shit. That'd be dope. But yeah, I'm glad you made it, Beans. I'm guessing you just woke up because literally I just texted your brother and he's like, you're sleeping. Bro, there's 15-minute gameplay thing. It looks perfect. It does look perfect. It looks fantastic. It's way deeper than I thought. I know, right? I thought it was just gonna be some kind of type of video game, but nah, it looks really good, and I'm really into the graphics. Like, the graphics look fantastic. The Beans is dying. Don't worry, Beans. Bro, Beans. Oh my god, I can't wait to see you later today to watch Obi-Wan Kenobi. I went on Disney Plus and I didn't see any of the episodes. I just saw the time. The first episode I think is like 54 minutes. The second episode is like 46 minutes. I am so excited to watch that show, man. It's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good. I'm so excited. So yeah, as usual, have me in the background as you're waking up or going to sleep or whatever you're doing. We are gonna finish Brotherhood today. We only have a few more chapters to go, and then later today me and Beans are gonna watch Obi-Wan, and you could catch our review on our D4 YouTube channel. It's hilarious. It's something we created together. It's just a little nickname because both of our nicknames from our parents are Didi. So we just thought that we should call ourselves D4 from R5D4 in The New Hope, the droid that blows up that Luke tries to get before he gets R2. So yeah, that's our YouTube channel. You'll see our review on the Obi-Wan show on our D4 YouTube channel. It's gonna be awesome. I dreamed about a Grievous show. That was weird. If people don't know about Beanie, she absolutely loves General Grievous, and for good reason. So he's an awesome character. And yesterday in Celebration, we saw some cool ass Grievous figurines. So that's probably why you dreamed about a Grievous show, because you saw those awesome figurines, and you're like, you know what? I want to dream about Grievous today. He's an awesome character. He should get his own show. He really should get his own show because he's awesome, especially like an origin story. That's funny. The Grievous show. I'm just imagining it like WandaVision, but with General Grievous instead. Like an old timey sitcom with a 4-armed cyborg Jedi killer. Alright, so we're on chapter 44. We're almost done with this book, and then we're on to Obi-Wan. So let's get it going. Grievous is a bitch. Well, if you're talking about the new Clone Wars, then yeah, they kind of didn't make him a bitch. But Beanie fell in love with him when she saw him in the old school animated Clone Wars where he's whooping ass. But then they kind of made him a bitch in the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars Grievous isn't real. We could just imagine they couldn't animate him the way they wanted to. This new shit. He's a scam. What have they done to my boy? Don't worry, Grievous. Hopefully, maybe we'll get a resurgence. I hope to God, because he's awesome. His concept and his whole purpose of existing. He's an awesome character. But you're right, Nose. Grievous is a bitch. If you're watching the Clone Wars animated show, they kind of turned him into a little bitch, but that's okay. He's still our favorite Jedi droid killer. Yeah, they nerfed the shit out of him. Like, me and Nose, we love Starkiller from The Force Unleashed. Grievous is a good example of, if they make Starkiller canon, that's how heavy they're gonna nerf him. Just how hard they nerf Grievous, to the point where I'm like, you know what? Just keep him Legends. Don't bring Starkiller in canon if you're gonna nerf him that bad. I bet we'll see him in the show at least once. Who, Grievous? Nah, we probably won't see it because he's already dead. This is like 10 years after episode 3 when he got shot in the heart. by General Kenobi. So sadly, we won't see our boy Grievous. He's long dead by now, just roasting somewhere on Utapau. All right, so let's get started. We're going to chapter 44, Anakin Skywalker. We're all at the tail end of this book, so let's get it popping. Anakin wanted to beat Obi-Wan to the alley, not because it was a race or anything along those lines. This represented a more practical need. He landed on the ground, then rushed over into the alley where Mil stood in the shadows. R2-D2 shook with beeps of greetings before rolling forward to greet Obi-Wan. That gave enough time for Anakin to connect with Mil. Listen, I haven't told Obi-Wan about you yet. What? Mil asked. Her eyes grew wide under her hood. Am I gonna get in trouble? He's on the council. Hello, R2. Glad you could come help us out. Chirps and words came from the droid in return. I heard you're quite the bomb finder. Are you? Anakin did need the force to detect Obi-Wan's eyes turning their way. He stood up back still to his former master, and by now, Mil had to be close enough to give away who she really was. A youngling? Mil looked up at Anakin, and Anakin responded with a nod. The young Zabrak removed her hood, and in the low light of the alley, the silhouette of her horns and ponytail became clear. Anakin, Obi-Wan's voice turned into a familiar scolding. What are you thinking? This is no place for a youngling. Master, Anakin started before intentionally pausing and regrouping, stifling his instincts to argue. Obi-Wan, some time ago such a switch could have been constructed as a sign of disrespect, but here his quieter voice projected different intentions. He addressed a colleague now, without the formality required with a mentor, and Obi-Wan's face softened and harsh lines ready to unleash another lecture about protocols and safety, loosening up into a willingness to listen, if not necessarily understand. This is Jedi Initiate Mil Alabeth, Anakin said. I know it seems strange, risky for her to be here, but I am asking you to trust me on this. Mil moved beside Anakin, standing with straight shoulders and tall chest. She's quite capable. Obi-Wan's brow crinkled in concern, as Anakin had seen so many times before, but it usually preceded a sigh of exasperation followed by crossed arms and a shaking head. Those reflexive motions didn't arrive. Instead, Obi-Wan stood in simple contemplation, focus moving between Anakin and Mil. You are a Jedi Knight now for a reason, he said, his words even and careful. I will defer to your judgment. His head tilted, a smile sneaking through. I see you learned something talking to all those younglings. Don't worry, Anakin said. No way am I taking on a Padawan. Yes, you will. Bouncing back and forth. Understood, we'll hurry, Anakin said. Mil, what do you have for us? She took a step forward, her facade of confidence melting away back to the same youngling who'd been with him over the past few days. Skilled, intelligent, and naturally talented, but only starting to grow into herself. She gestured at the buildings and around them and over at the makeshift infirmary behind Obi-Wan. There aren't many guards here, if any, she said, R2. R2-D2 projected a map, a rotating model of the neighborhood around them with a red line winding around and forming a large curve to get to a dot. And this path will take us through the unguarded areas. Mil traced her finger over it, stopping at the bend in the curve. There may be some activity over here, but I think between R2 and our senses we can move by it quickly. Several more statical beeps came from the droid. They're closing in, Anakin said. What did he say? Mil asked. I'm still learning to understand droid. He's picking up patrol chatter that shows activity to the far east of us, over by where the trial took place, Anakin said. Obi-Wan looked over his shoulder, then took a step forward. Youngling, how do you know the details of guard locations? Have you tapped into Caden Moidia's security network? No, Master. I scouted forward. She looked up at Anakin, who gave a simple nod of encouragement. I have an ability. To sense patrol movement? Obi-Wan asked aloud before his voice dropped to eternal amusing. That could be a tactical advantage on the battle. No, not that. I sense pain. Master Skywalker is helping me learn to control it. Obi-Wan raised an eyebrow his way. I can see the distress of the patients here. They're rescued from the disaster site, or recovering after damage from the bomb itself. Physical pain, or emotions. I give in to the Force and I see it, like you might see heat on a thermoscope. Interesting, Obi-Wan said, stroking his beard. Anakin knew the gesture and the tone of voice. Some people would use that word as a polite dismissive, but Obi-Wan only did so when his curiosity sparked. Can you soothe them? I don't know. I've only tried once, on just one patient, but I noticed a pattern with all of the infirmaries they set up. She pointed again and to the large tent. They're not guarded. It's only medical staff here. Anakin closed his eyes and reached into the Force, sensing the space around them. She's right, at least here. R2, enhance your audio. See if you can pick up the types of droids. R2-D2 beeped in affirmative, then went silent before turning his dome and chittering at Anakin. R2 says that based on what he knows of the droid movements, it sounds like medical droids, no battle droids. I don't know if they're giving the patients peace to heal, or if Mill gulped before staring straight at the tent, if they just don't care, like they just get in the way. Anakin was about to say something about how, of course, the Trade Federation would treat victims as assets, but Obi-Wan spoke first. It is not up to us to judge why this is the case. There could be a cultural history in place here, but this does give us an advantage. Youngling, he said, kneeling to put himself on her level, then tilting his head up to meet her eye to eye. It is a unique gift. You should embrace it, and I have a challenge for you. A challenge? Before we leave Keo Nemoidia, I need to get the governmental data center and retrieve evidence. It's right next to the largest of these temporary infirmaries. Obi-Wan looked up at Anakin. My friend, found it ironic, he said, before turning back to Mill. Between you and R2, I believe we can get there undetected. Then let's get going, Anakin said. The quicker we move, the quicker we can get back to the original plan and fly off this planet. The projection from R2-D2 shifted, its rotation stopping to zoom out and show a new location, this time with a green line that followed the same path for about half the journey before turning left instead of right at the bend. The Force brings us together at the right moments, Obi-Wan said, nodding at Mill. He's right. Youngling, lead the way, and let's try to stay in the shadows. No more rooftop business for us. Those seeker remotes will be looking. You could just say that we're lucky she's here. Anakin, you keep believing in luck. I didn't say I believed in luck. He patted Mill on the shoulder, prompting a smile on her face. But that doesn't stop us from being lucky. Mill set off down the alley with her hood back and over her horned head. R2-D2 rolled behind her. Anakin followed and Obi-Wan kept pace with him. A quick but quiet walk. From the sky, Zara glowed with the elegant structured and lush topiaries. In all of the areas that Mill identified, though, it might as well have been the industrial sector of Coruscant. With most of the infirmaries pushed to the outskirts of the bridge city, moving toward the data center proved quite easy. The medical droid and nursing personnel too wrapped up in the immediate concerns to care about any detective movement. They made it about halfway across R2-D2's projected route when Mill suddenly stopped. What's wrong, Mill? Anakin asked. She took another step forward. Though her hands pressed against her head, he moved to support her weight, and though she tried to push him off, whatever suddenly ailed her plucked at her strength. I sensed something. Obi-Wan came up alongside them, soon followed by R2-D2. Scan the area for guards or threats, he said to the astromech. Though he gave her space to breathe, R2-D2 beeped in acknowledgement, then rolled several meters away before a small sensor dish emerged from the droid's round dome. Is something approaching? Anakin asked. No, but they're nearby. It's fear, suffering, rage. She pressed her hands against her temples, then began glancing around, each movement seemingly a struggle. She opened her eyes and stared Anakin in the face. I can't shut it off. It's so overwhelming that Anakin took her hands, but looked around as well. Is it the infirmary over there? Anakin said, pointing to the adjacent warehouse converted into a local trauma ward. No, I sense them, but this is different. And it's so much that I sense it everywhere, and I think it's just one person, but the pain they're feeling. Mill's voice trailed off, but R2-D2 took up the space, beeping fast enough to cause the droid to tilt back and forth. A bomb? Obi-Wan asked. Light came out of the astromech's optical projector, and a map emerged into existence. A simple red X marking a location not so far from them. Come on, Anakin said, picking up Mill. Obi-Wan took the lead. I think she's sensing Ventress. No says I'm a shower and have a concert. I'll join back when I'm out. All right, bet. And Lamo, have fun and sing your lungs out. That's right, sing your lungs out, mate. Moving quickly with R2-D2 rolling behind him and Anakin on lookout while carrying Mill. Something's not right, Mill said, her head leaning into Anakin's shoulder. Anakin, Obi-Wan yelled from around the corner of a forgotten building. its doors and windows shuttered with large metal plates. He stood with the open air above, the gray skies of Kea Nemoidia casting a pale light over them until Obi-Wan's lightsaber added a tint of blue. He cut a hole in with precision, moving the blade in a square. It has to be a circle. Without cutting it too deeply, Anakin understood the specific movements. Obi-Wan didn't want the energy of the plasma blade to accidentally set off any explosives. Obi-Wan stepped back, then put his hand out, fingers spread widely, and through the force he extracted the square-shaped metal slab before dropping it into the empty alley. "There it is," Obi-Wan said before waving Anakin over. "Does this look like the bombs you found yesterday?" R2-D2's optic lens rotated. Along with the hum and vibration of the active scan, Anakin set Mill down and knelt beside Obi-Wan to look inside the abandoned building. "It does," he said, his initial hunch confirmed, but studying it closer to be certain. Same orange material. The wiring follows the same design, and the igniter unit is the same, so the remote signal processor and the explosive form is about the same size. And Anakin noted, "It's still sloppy, but this," he said, gesturing around them, "doesn't make sense. The other bombs were all within the radius of the trial. All of those targets meant something to this community." Anakin shook his head, then glanced around for a full view of their surroundings. "This is just an abandoned warehouse. It makes no sense." "Ah," Mill let out, hands to her head. She stood up, pushing Anakin away when he tried to help. "No, I need to fight through this. This person is near, somewhere close by." Her knees buckled, but she grunted, steadying herself. "I won't let this overwhelm me. I can control this." And a series of quick chirps and whistles came from R2-D2, rapid enough that Anakin put his hand on his lightsaber hilt. "How did you disarm this before?" Obi-Wan asked. "Complete manual rewiring. It takes a little bit of effort. The bomber may not be precise, but they had a good teacher. Keep an eye out," Anakin said, reaching in to remove the bomb from its mounting struts. "I need to be careful with this." Gravel ground beneath Anakin's boots as he pulled the device out. Obi-Wan stepped back to give him some space as he set the armed device down on the alley's stone paving. Anakin turned to him, then quickly looked at Mill, who gritted her teeth as she pushed her way to straighten up. "It's coming closer. The anger." "Then I better hurry." But as soon as he leaned over to begin disarmament, a voice shouted out, "Step away from the bomb, Jedi." A circle or a square or a rectangle. That seems to be the only shapes they carve when they're cutting things. It'd be funny if a Jedi actually made like a star-shaped hole in the wall, but that'd probably take too long. But it has to be a circle. We don't like squares. Anakin whirled around, his lightsaber pulling into his hand and igniting in a single move. By then, Obi-Wan's weapon reflected blue across his face as well, but he held out a single hand, motioning Anakin to slow down, and Anakin listened. He eyed the guard standing across the street from them, the young Nemoidian who gave the fiery speech during the trial. Oh, she might have been sensing him instead. No, never mind. Both of his hands held something, the left a pistol drawn on them and the right a small device, finger on the trigger. "Katar," Obi-Wan said, his voice slowing. "Enough people have been hurt. Put the detonator down and let's talk." You won't get through to him," Mill said. "He's in a state of rage. I can feel it." Anakin looked at the space around him, searching for vulnerabilities. Despite being more ordinary and in slight disrepair, many of the surrounding structures were still the rounded designs typical of the culture's aesthetics. But in terms of immediate help, the environment provided no tricks. It would just take speed, a burst to rush over and slice the detonator. Or he could push Katar down with the force, hopefully knocking the detonator out of his hand, or pull the detonator as he would any object on the ground. Those all came with the same risk. If Katar realized what was happening, his thumb would hit the button and set off the bomb. A thought creeped into his mind, one that pushed out as soon as it arrived. If he had Count Dooku's mastery over lightning, one zap would likely be enough to shock Katar fast enough to knock him out and safely free the detonator. Dang, Anakin was thinking about force lightning? Oh my god. Dang. Good. That sounds annoying. I know, right? The star-shaped thing would be annoying. This man was thinking about force lightning, though. He's about to zap this man. "Anakin, let me talk to him," Obi-Wan said under his breath, as if he knew that Anakin was already considering ways to rush him. "You heard, Mill. You're not getting through to him right now. I'm going to try. Give me a chance." Anakin nodded, letting Obi-Wan do what he did best. the negotiator. But he didn't like the odds or have the patience required to let this play out. Obi-Wan's lightsaber retracted and he put both hands up. You see, Obi-Wan said, we are calm. We are here to talk. I spoke of good faith before and I intend to keep it. From the side of his mouth he spoke quietly. Disarm yourself. I hope you know what you're doing, Anakin said, drawing his plasma blade back into his hilt. Qatar, Obi-Wan said, were those bombs around the Grand Theater of Judgment? You, he said in a low, icy tone. He stared at Anakin. You must be the one from the communicator. Did you take my bombs? That was me, Anakin responded. Still couldn't figure out why you picked those targets. I don't know. I thought that was some nice architecture. Some of the finest in our cultural history, he said, his voice seething. Master Mill said, you're pushing him. I don't know if this is a good idea. Look at you. Look at the way you mock us. The same as long as I can remember. The way the Republic treats Nemoidians. The way they treated generations of my family. Why would I destroy pillars of Nemoidian culture? Because then Republic might finally see we are more than asset traders. Because they would see, his voice rose, the smoke remains of everything the Jedi emissary blew away. I guess he was framing you, Anakin whispered. Obi-Wan nodded, then turned to the young guard Qatar. He tried again. I understand your grievances against the Republic. You're not wrong, but please listen to the evidence. We did not cause the catastrophe on Katasura. You can help us. Rug trusts me. You can trust me too. Don't speak about my partner. You've corrupted her. Obi-Wan took a step forward, hands up as he tried a different tactic. You can take the lead on the investigation of my evidence, he said, specifically omitting Rogue from the detail. You could be a hero to both the Republic and the Separatists. Your actions could be the one thing that drives the galaxy to peace. You want to help your people. You want to help the Trade Federation. This is your opportunity. Please work with me and take it. Obi-Wan looked over at Mill. What are you sensing? He asked under his breath. Anguish, confusion. He's still very angry, but you've... Enough chatter between you. Stop plotting against me. I am in control here. A discharge came from his pistol and Anakin reached into the Force to project out its trajectory and final landing spot. A warning shot with no target. He let it fly past them, and Obi-Wan similarly didn't move. It seared into the building's wall, leaving a black pockmark, the debris crumbling to the ground. Yes, Qatar, Anakin said. This is your show. You're in control. Don't speak of Rug anymore. I know all about your Jedi powers. Rug has made her own choices, Obi-Wan said. I have not influenced her at all. Then she is a traitor to the Nemoidians everywhere. Qatar, Obi-Wan said, trying to reframe the discussion. Listen to me. No one has to know about the bombs you planted. No one has to know about this bomb right here next to this infirmary. Though no one said it, Qatar's plan suddenly connected in Anakin's mind. If this was all about framing Obi-Wan for disrespecting the Nemoidian people, then the targets will all be the things that matter to their culture and community rather than to the Trade Federation as an organization. Buildings and statues with cultural significance and the unguarded wounded. These bombs can be erased from history, and instead you can be the one who said that you wish you took the first step toward peace. Use my evidence, I beg you. You can be the hero of the galaxy needs right now. This will give you everything you want. Greater recognition of the Nemoidian people, a resolution to the greatest crime Kid Nemoidia has ever seen, and vindication for your family bloodline. Another good speech, Anakin whispered, and though Qatar probably couldn't see it, Anakin caught the corner of Obi-Wan's mouth curling upward. Something's happening to him, Mill said. His emotions are like a cloud of different colors. Now's my chance. While he's distracted, Anakin glanced over at Obi-Wan, who remained still. He's unstable. Qatar slowly slid the pistol into his hip holster, a gesture that got all of their attention, but the detonator still sat in the other raised hand. That part didn't change. His free hand went up to the side of his helmet. Details remained too quiet to hear, but someone talked into his ear. Someone's on his comms, Anakin said. I should take him now. I hope it's Rug, Obi-Wan whispered. No, he's still got the detonator. One move and he blows it up. We're not that fast. Whoever called Qatar finished, and the guard reaffirmed his stance, red eyes wide. He took a step forward them as he drew his pistol back out. You claim I'll be a hero, he said, but bringing the Trade Federation closer to the Republic would make me a traitor. We will not be forced under the thumb of the Republic rule. Ventress told me all about you Jedi, the way you manipulate people, the way you control their emotions. I've already seen what you've done to Rug, how you twist the truth, how the Republic gives you free reign to do as you please. I said it as a trial, and I will say it here again. No more. You tried to hide your crimes. I'll make that impossible. Ventress, Obi-Wan said, a rare curse under his breath before returning to full volume. The spirit of cooperation is necessary for galactic peace. We must come together to stop this outside group that has unleashed havoc on your homeworld. Please look at my evidence. The Republic is not to blame here. You're wasting your time. His voice took a grim turn and his fingers flexed around the pistol grip. He looked up with startling, unblinking clarity in his red eyes. You don't understand. Oh no, Mel said with a gasp. I don't care who bombed Katasura. His words combined with growing fury. I don't know and I don't care. That was never the point. The only thing that matters is what happens now. The Republic has looked down on the Moidians for far too long. Neutrality is not the path here. The only way to save my people is for them to join Count Dooku's movement. Count Dooku will save the galaxy. He may speak highly of your order, but he also understands the true nature of things. Anakin could feel Obi-Wan's burn at the last sentence, a clear indicator that yet another variable was in play. Ventress has been in your ear as an agent of Count Dooku. Give me the same amount of time you've given her. I offer you only words. Anakin put his hand on his lightsaber hilt, just in case. He's too far gone. Whoever spoke to him on his comm, it pushed him over the edge, Mill said, stepping behind Anakin. It was Ventress. She's manipulating his idealism. Perhaps we should run. Escaping the blast ray is our only chance. Obi-Wan whispered, you pick up the youngling. R2 will need to use his rockets. There has to be another way. The infirmary, we have to save them. Anakin grabbed at the Force, slowing down everything around him to seek some solution that might save everyone. The best thing he could think of was a coordinated force pull, two at the same time from him and Obi-Wan. One on Katar himself to yank him forward and the other on the detonator. That might get out of his hands cleanly enough for him to... No more words, Katar yelled. Step away from the bomb. Or he could turn and sever the bomb's wires in one lightsaber swing and hope that was enough. He knew what wires to pull. This would be less precise than the other bombs, but the Force would guide him. Obi-Wan could take care of the rest. Anakin, we must run. The blast radius is set, but if we survive, we can get to the data center and show the evidence to the Republic. No, I'm coming up with a plan. We're going to save everyone. This is war. In war, there are impossible choices. We must get to the evidence to the Republic. I tire of your stalling. Get away from my bomb. Something shifting Katar's stance, as if he'd reached some kind of epiphany. No, it doesn't matter. A new stillness came to his voice. I don't need to survive this. He's calm now, Mill said, like something turned off all his emotions. All his colors went dark. That's not good, Anakin said. He put his hands up, the Force acting as an extension of his own hand. He just about felt the detonator through the ether when a crackle popped from high above, cutting through the air like thunder. Dang, this ignorant... He's already corrupted. Execute Oda 66. This damn freaking Nemoidian, oh my god. He's so freaking annoying. He's being so ignorant. But there's a bunch of Katars on this planet as well, so that's kind of realistic. Some good Malta right there. What's the drink today? We're sponsoring Malta again. We're back to our regular sponsor, Malta. Except I put it in a cup today. I really should reach out and be like, hey, I drink a lot of your drinks on my streams. Can you please sponsor me? That'd be great. You know, I'm giving you free advertisement right now. Just give me a little bit of cash. 5%. I'm not asking for much. Whew. Chapter 45. Obi-Wan Kenobi. They better give you a sponsorship. I know, right? Somewhere out there, get me a Malta sponsorship, please. That'd be quite kind of you. The detonator dropped from Katar's hand and bounced off the ground. A blaster bolt fired with enough velocity to burn a complete hole in the palm. Katar looked at his hands, his red eyes growing even larger when another shot rang out. The guard buckled, one leg suddenly giving out, and he collapsed to the ground, howling in pain. Obi-Wan looked up and behind them, the remnants of the burst still echoing across the sky. Did you plan this? Anakin asked, the falling detonator flying into his open palm. A second later, Katar's pistol took flight, landing in Anakin's other hand, though he quickly tossed it aside. He turned, searching the surrounding buildings, and he moved to grab his lightsaber before Obi-Wan gestured to pause him. No, Obi-Wan said, scanning rooftops for Rug's presence. I believe this was more of that good faith I talked about. In the face of an impossible choice, where was she? Obi-Wan tried tried the most logical direction based on the way the blaster bolt arrived, a specific angle and speed. He found no traces, though after several seconds his ears picked up the clump of footsteps over rooftop metal. Each clan gave away the location. Someone was running at a clip that would make even Jedi envious despite the lack of force abilities. You should disarm that bomb. On it, Anakin said. How are you, youngling? He's hurt, she said, but that rage is fading. Obi-Wan nodded, his hand instinctively going to his beard as he thought through his options. It didn't take long for the footsteps above to turn into a series of huffs and thumps, and then he finally located Rug. Sniper rifle strapped to her back. She climbed down a series of ledges before attaching a grappling hook to the side of a tall curved wall and rappelling to the surface. The hook retracted its claws and caught up to her as she slowed down, taking in the scene. Jedi to her right, a wounded Katar to her left. Obi-Wan walked up to the Neimoidian commando. There's another bomb. My following Jedi is disarming it. Did you know about the series of bombs Katar planted? Only what was discussed here. His hate for the Republic runs deep, and it has been stoked by Dooku's agent. Rug nodded and looked up. She's close. I saw her ship. I believe she was in coordination with Katar over comms. They both turned to look at the fallen guard. Quietly writhing in pain, the heat from the blaster bolts must have cauterized the wounds, much like a lightsaber. As little blood oozed onto the ground below him, Katar looked up, and though the pain of his wounds, he tilted his head and focused on Rug. Traitor! He yelled, spit flying with his words. Rug took steps forward toward her partner, but paused and looked back. This is your call, Obi-Wan said, unless you want the Republic to be involved. No, I own this. I wasn't there for him. Ventress was. Rug's normally inscrutable face broke, a regret appearing in the form of narrow eyes and a tight jaw. What have you done, Katar? Traitor, he yelled again. People like you will be the end of our kind. I hope this is Ventress speaking, not you. All of Rug's talk of tough decisions, killing for her government, and her brutal commando life seemed to exhaust her. But here, one simple sentence from Katar cracked her stoic exterior, working its way past any defenses until she simply stared at her fallen partner, silent. She has shown me the path. She promises that Dooku will not exploit Neimoidians like the Republic has. Obi-Wan wished he could show Katar what Dooku had said on Geonosis, how underneath the eloquent words and welcoming smile came deceptions both subtle and overt, but he respected Rogue enough to leave this to her. Think this through. How do you know he will keep his word? She asked, kneeling down. Obi-Wan watched as he tried to reach him, as if logic might break through where empathy failed. Even if he does, how do you know that everyone underneath him will as well? The Separatists are an evolving organization, filled with competing priorities, including nuke gunnery. Their future is uncertain. So you throw in with the Republic, with the Jedi? Rug paused, then looked back at Anakin and Mill as they worked on the bomb. The Jedi try to help our people. You try to murder them. That's unforgivable. There's no possible justification for this. Regardless of what Ventress told you, you planted the bombs. She pointed at him. As Kenobi mourned, you made that choice. I tried to save our people while you collaborate with the enemy. No, Rug's posture changed, the pain of earlier now turning to an anger that tensed her shoulders and balled her fists. I find this Jedi to be honest, and I'm willing to listen to honest people, but I will always carry the best interests of Neimoidians. You have sold out your people. This bomb would have murdered civilians. Keep telling yourself that. Take the easy way out. Katar spat at Rug's feet. The glob, a mix of saliva and blood. History will remember you as a traitor. Finish it. Kill me now. Complete your betrayal. What are you? Katar's diatribe ended with Rug sending a fist into his face. Thank God, this annoying ass guy. We're not changing each other's minds. She stood up. That split-second gesture making the difference between her and Obi-Wan. He would never have given into an impulse like that, even if knocking out Katar had practical purpose. Anakin, on the other hand, do you judge me? She asked, eyes locked with Obi-Wan's. The question tied into many different outcomes, and he weighed at the possibilities, the way each might ripple out. You are in a position that I cannot fully appreciate. These are your decisions to make. However, he said, if you need any assistance, you may ask, from the Republic or from myself as a friend. He turned to check on Anakin, who still worked on bomb disarmament. He has identified me as a traitor, and, she inhaled slowly, I suppose I am. I aided a declared enemy of the state, and he knows it. She took several steps closer to him. He's the only one that knows it. Rug, Obi-Wan said, consider your options carefully. If I finish the job, I have his confession recorded. He will be rightfully blamed for the bombs. Perhaps that will further the discussion on extremism. She looked at Obi-Wan, and further your push for negotiations. It only supports your argument. You will murder your partner, though? Oh, I've killed so many. In combat, up close on a mission. Collateral damage, accident, the guilty, the innocent. Rug's gloved hands pushed against the sides of her face. It doesn't make a difference how. I've taken their lives. What's one more, especially if it de-escalates the war. This was not Jedi business. Obi-Wan's mandate was to investigate the bombing, and if he could, to persuade the Trade Federation into open negotiations with the Republic. The conflict between Rug and Katar lived in a bubble exclusively their own, especially with Katar's bombs nullified. Somewhere, perhaps Ventress watched with interest, but Obi-Wan suspected her as the type whose words pushed her own agenda forward. Regardless of who got caught up in them, she likely didn't care if Katar lived or died. I taught him, I mentored him, and I hope to temper his rage by showing him how we do the work. I underestimated Ventress, the toe of her boot dug into the ground, or perhaps I overestimated how much he listened to me. Obi-Wan intentionally stayed quiet. Her words didn't invite an opinion, and in this case, letting her talk it through might bring her to a better conclusion. She knelt over Katar's prone body, his eyes closed above his wheezing breath. She focused on the wound she created moments ago from the sniper rifle she described to Obi-Wan as an extension of my own body, while they worked together on the surface. Did that mean she felt every visceral impact that her weapon caused? From across the way, Obi-Wan heard Anakin talking to Mill about the bomb. Though they kept a respectful distance, Rug remained still, only blinking as she stared at her fallen comrade. Seconds ticked by, fingers turning into a shaking fist at her side until one hand brushed the pistol on her belt. This is how it's going to be, she said, and Obi-Wan waited. Her hand hovered, fingers flexing over the weapon, her long gloved forefinger tapping against the grip. I might regret this, but we're here now. Her pupils slits sharpened into focus, and I can't change anything. Her hand moved, and Obi-Wan took in a sharp inhale. It reached past the holster, shifting farther back of her utility belt before pulling out standard issue energy binders, the same kind she placed on Obi-Wan not too long ago. I need a med pack, she said with a heavy sigh. As she cuffed Katar's limp hands, she inspected his wounds more closely. The path to Nemoidian prosperity is through peaceful negotiation, not bloodshed. We know this. Our brains are wired to calculate this. Obi-Wan reached into his own belt for a small tube of emergency Bacta. This cycle of violence must end, she said, taking the Bacta from him and applying it on the bird's damage on Katar's hand and knee. He's lucky we're next to an infirmary. Rug, Obi-Wan said, helping her turn Katar onto his back. I still believe we have a chance for de-escalation. We need to get to the data center and download the evidence of separatist involvement. Then show the Republic that someone is clearly playing both sides. I can help you, she said, pulling on Katar's arm before lifting him over his shoulder. They walked in step, Obi-Wan letting her lead the way back to Anakin, Mill, and the bomb. Are all of Katar's bombs disarmed? We got most of them yesterday, only this one's left, but I'm almost done. It's safe and stable. I just need more time to disable it. Rug looked at the trio of Jedi surrounding her, and on her shoulder, Katar groaned. The data center itself has layers of guards. I'll need to use that bomb as a distraction. No, Mill said. No more suffering for political gain. A smile crept over Rug's face, perhaps at the idealism on display here. Youngling, your friend trusts me. You should too. She gestured the bomb's explosive material. I used a fraction of that on an environmental scanner, about a kilometer from the data center. It's uninhabited and isolated, but our security is on high alert. That should pull a number of guards from the building to inspect. I'll call it in myself. What about Katar? I'll drop him off at the infirmary and tell them to sedate him, and that he's under arrest. If no, when he comes to, he'll identify me as a traitor. And I don't know what will happen then, but, she said, adjusting the unconscious Nemoidian on her shoulder, hopefully you'll be off-world by then. Man, I like this alien. She's awesome. I bomb people to help people. Bro, the logic is so retarded. It's crazy. It's like, even if you're angry, it's like, come on, hear yourself. You're gonna bomb your own people to help your people? That makes sense? Come on, man. Will you be making a review of this book? I wasn't thinking about it, but actually, you know what? That's actually a good idea. I'll do a overall review for our D4 channel uh about this book, because this book is very good. So yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I'll do a review on this book. Yeah, okay, bet. Bet. Yeah, I will do a review on this book, because this book is one of the best Star Wars books I've read so far. I'm loving it. Chapter 46, Anakin Skywalker. This was Anakin's specialty. He dashed forward, moving with stealth and speed. If Mill and R2-D2 hadn't been with him, even if Obi-Wan hadn't been with him, he'd have gotten there in half the time. Mill's hunch that the infirmary neighborhoods were lightly guarded proved to be completely accurate, and R2-D2's constant scans confirmed that patrols clearly focused on the immediate area around the governmental offices. When the data center was within reach, he paused only to check with Mill. "I am okay," she said. "I'm fine." "Are you sure?" Obi-Wan says. "That is the largest infirmary." Mill straightened herself after a brief pause to catch her breath. "If I can handle Qatar, I can handle this. Besides," she said, marching with a confidence that may have been for show, "I'm beginning to find that it's not the suffering that slows me down. It's that I want to help them." "Hold on to that," Anakin said. "The way you care about others will power you through adversity." From the corner of his eye, he caught Obi-Wan shooting a second glance at this, though he quickly marched forward, eyes focused on their destination. I just thought that maybe this whole scenario is what made Obi-Wan think that Anakin's ready for a Padawan, because he was so good with this kid. And that's why he got Ahsoka. "That's the environmental scanner," Rugg mentioned, Obi-Wan said, pointing to a thin tower with equipment sticking out of a collection of buildings. "And that's the back entrance where she's supposed to meet us." They overlooked a plain domed structure with a short cylindrical stack on the top, the only decorative flourishes being the statues in the front of the courtyard. There were equal numbers of guards and at the front and back of the loading areas. To the side sat 5 massive tents, medical droids hauling the occasional cart back and forth between them. The sky flashed before a plume of smoke went up at the scanner. They all turned to see one of its supporting legs collapse as the tower imploded, the equipment at the top falling straight down. "That's our cue," Anakin said. Rugg's distraction worked. Most of the guards surrounding the building took off, and a number streamed out of the building as well. They leapt down, staying among alleys and the side streets to circumvent the infirmaries. As they passed by the final tent, Mill took in a breath. Anakin turned to her, though they kept moving. "Are you alright, Mill?" "I was wrong," she said, but unlike other times when her abilities seemed to take the air out of her, she remained steady on her feet. "I thought they'd left the infirmaries unguarded because they didn't care, but it's to give the patients a more restful space. Their culture cares deeply about their sick and wounded. It's not something that the outside observer would see." "You got all that by walking by them?" "I sense them a little differently here," Mill said. They stopped, Obi-Wan peeking around the corner before signaling them forward. "All the other infirmaries are free of guards. This one has some close by. They seem to tense up when they're around military, and the guards are mindful. I think it's that risk calculation you told me about." She turned to Anakin, her eyes clear. "They care about their people, especially in time of mourning. I don't know about the Trade Federation, but the Neimoidians care about their people." Anakin nodded, but he only had a few seconds to take in her empathy before Obi-Wan waved them ahead. Perhaps they all made the mistake of lumping the population in with the government. Obi-Wan led them to the side of the dome, an area with significant tree cover, before vaulting upward on it. Using force-assisted balance to scale the curved side, though Mill moved more slowly than the adults, she proved to be a capable climber, keeping pace with R2-D2 boosting next to her. "Rugg says this is the area with the least cam coverage," Obi-Wan said as they made it to the top ledge. From where they knelt together, the lone guard on the backside appeared to be no more than an insect standing its ground. Though the local Fox emergency drew out the rest of the office workers as well, they scattered looking like dots moving on a board from their distance. The other one emerged from the opposite side, dashing inward instead of away. "There she is." Obi-Wan adjusted his balance on his heels, then pointed to the top cylindrical structure. Anakin nodded and then led the way to the roof hatch where Rugg would let them be undetected. The power of caring, that's right. You must care for your individuals. For they are one and we are all. Hamid quotes. Welcome to the Governmental Data Archive, Rug said. Waving them inside, she toggled the button again and on the device in her hand. An orange translucent beam bursting outward. She'd done the same on the way in to create a rolling window of disabled surveillance. If I wasn't getting arrested for treason before, any records of me doing this will surely get me to the brig. You're doing this for the right reason, Obi-Wan said with a nod. Milk, can your abilities monitor the outer hallway for movement? If I really concentrate, Master? Do it. Do it. Alert us if anyone starts coming toward us. Obi-Wan looked at Rug, who nodded in return. We can't be too cautious. R2-D2 rolled in and immediately chirped about looking for an access port. Here, Anakin said, tapping on a knee-level port built for astromech droids. The screen above came alive with lines and lines of text that at first showed what he assumed to be Pac-Pac, but several seconds later, all the text flipped to arabesque characters. Rug stepped over, swiping at the screen and drilling them down through various folders until she tapped at the 2 sets of files. This is it, she said. Bring these to the Republic. Any copies self-delete within a standard day for risk mitigation. That's why my source had to slice directly into the archive. If you're going to transmit it, you need to send it now, and the receiver will have to capture it securely. R2-D2 beeped an affirmative and a download bar appeared on the screen, incrementally filling it from empty to full. Do you wish to present it yourself to the Republic? Obi-Wan asked. We can get you amnesty. You will be protected. Perhaps you can even lead the negotiation with the Trade Federation. I promise you nothing would happen to you, Anakin said, and inside he felt the Sun Dragon roar, the way it always did in the furnace of his heart during these circumstances. When anyone showed loyalty to Anakin Skywalker, they became an ally for life. Dang, he ended up for Obi-Wan at the end. And if they ever betrayed him, the intensity would immediately avert into something much more dangerous. Damn. That explains why he thought Obi-Wan betrayed him. Shit. Anakin's such an extreme. Need to write down those quotes for your book. I know, right? R2 emotions are beeps, sassy beeps, chirps, and screams. That's his range. Rug looked back and forth between the 2 Jedi Knights, then at the youngling who suddenly seemed capable beyond her years, despite the fact that she didn't even have her own kyber crystal yet. Anakin knew Rug's answer simply from the look on her face. I love my homeworld, she said, turning to the screen above R2-D2. I love my people. I've done so many terrible things on their behalf because I believe that they are worth it. You're right, I could go with you to Coruscant and become a negotiator, like Obi-Wan. But my place is here. I spent my life fighting on the inside for Nemoidians. Perhaps not always for the Trade Federation, but for my people. Whatever happens to me, I will continue that fight. Anakin looked at Obi-Wan, who merely nodded. We understand, he said, extending his gloved mechanical hand. If you ever need us, you have friends in the Republic. Obi-Wan had been right about her, and for that he was grateful. For that, he would fight for her. Strange that he felt that, even for someone who was Nemoidian, who had worked for the Trade Federation. The epiphanies that only came with experience settled in, his own deeply held beliefs that formed early, gradually reframed into a whole new perspective. Rug took his hand, and though the glove and synthetic sensors, he felt the warmth and weight of hers against his. Of the many species he'd encountered across his entire life, it dawned on him that he'd rarely stood this close to a Nemoidian before, despite how much they influenced the direction of his life. A chime came from the archive and R2-D2 dislodged from the terminal. The droid backed up before his dome slid open, a small sensor disc elevating upward. Rapid beeps came along with the electronic groan, one that astromech usually saved for frustrations. What's with the droid? Rug asked. Transmissions to Coruscant are jammed, a leftover from the rules of my state. R2, Obi-Wan said. Is there anything you can do to delay the self-deleting files? Perhaps rolling copies of copies? Before R2-D2 could respond, Anakin put a hand up. We may not need to do that. R2, can you transmit to a ship traveling to the mid-rim? One affirmative whistle later, and suddenly Anakin felt stronger, more capable of defeating any obstacle. Thoughts about Padme combined with a rush of adrenaline greater than any spice or drink combination could achieve. Dang, he literally just said he gets high off of Padme. Michi, how's it going? Hello. Hello. How are you, my friend? How are you? You doing good? I'm friends with a senator we can trust. Obi-Wan's head tilted sideways. Anakin knelt down in front of R2-D2, quickly reciting and memorized details about connecting to the secure comm channels, something that he held on to as tightly as the hand of his wife, because in some ways, those letters and numbers held their marriage up across the stars. That's my wife. I'm Anakin Skywalker and I'm married, and I must let you know it. What's up, Michi? My wife. I'm married. I'm Space Jesus and I'm married. Remember it. Remember it. What, is Michi dead? Hello? Michi! Oops. Chapter 47. Obi-Wan Kenobi. There was a brief moment in the relationship between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn when the apprentice went behind his master's back as he searched for his true path forward. A brash young Padawan at the time, so insistent on following the Jedi Code that he bristled at Qui-Gon's hesitation regarding a treaty with the unscrupulous Zerka Corporation and the planet Pijal, hesitation created by Qui-Gon's own moral compass. In the end, years later, Obi-Wan understood his old master's objections, something where balancing right and wrong, good and bad failed to produce a clear outcome. He was pretty sure that Anakin's defiance of the Jedi Code right here did not fall into the category of moral compass, because Anakin didn't acknowledge it or defend it. He did, however, fail miserably at hiding it. Obi-Wan sensed everything as soon as Anakin said mid-rim. In circumstances like this, he usually prefaced any conclusion with questions, eternal or otherwise, and allowed things to fully play out. But in this moment, he didn't need to. The surge of emotion that came with those words was enough for Obi-Wan to understand the situation, and it had little to do with the strategy for transmitting the data to the Republic or the responsibility of Rug's decision. Everything here connected to thoughts about Padme Amidala. The way that Anakin managed to steer the mission over to her. Was that his intention this whole time? Or did he take advantage of the situation whenever he could? Or perhaps it was a mere coincidence and Padme really was the best choice here. She was accessible, and securing a trusted transmission route to Coruscant was a top priority. R2-D2's projection lamp lit up, and the glowing figure of Padme Amidala appeared. Despite the bright colors of the hologram, her exquisite purple dress, finely detailed copper embroidery, was still distinct, but Padme herself presented more casually, with curly hair down, no overcoat, and only a simple gold pendant with a metallic spiral design. Though the image stood only as tall as a lightsaber hilt, the transformation was clear. Her head tilted slightly as if identifying the people standing around Anakin flipped a switch. "Master Skywalker," she said, her voice shifting to formality. "Senator Amidala," Anakin said, returning the professional tone of her speech. Obi-Wan chose not to look directly at Anakin, instead judging his reactions and expression through a distorted mirror on a reflective piece of metal from the data center's console. But even though Anakin spoke in a low monotone, his mouth kept finding a smile, and his eyes failed to hide anything. "We have urgent data to send you. We are at a secured location in Kala Mordia, and transmissions to Coruscant are blocked." "Senator," Obi-Wan said, keeping up the guise of formality for the conversation, "this is self-deleting data. You will need to capture it in permanent form, then transmit it to the Jedi Council for analysis. We believe this information can be vital to de-escalating the war and perhaps convincing either the Trade Federation or the Separatists to enter negotiations." He looked at Rugg before continuing. "Perhaps both." C-3PO stumbled into view. Oh great, here we go, our favorite protocol droid. Maybe she's riding a lot, or she's doing, yeah, probably. C-3PO stumbled into view. "Oh, Master Anakin and R2-D2. Among my capabilities is to capture image or text data into permanent format capable of download by any standard secured Republic system. Though I usually use this for translation of memos sent in non-basic languages as they are streamed in transmission, it can be applied here. It may require..." "Thank you, 3PO. Yes, Master Kenobi, we can handle this information." Anakin began explaining the technical aspects of what they needed, which got the practical job part of the job done, but his feelings were clear, so much that Obi-Wan didn't need to watch the reflection to sense them. Being in the room was enough. Despite how they dressed up their words, Padme's reaction broke enough from her usual stoic formality to inform the situation. Her gift for disciplining herself in the name of diplomacy, exhibiting a hairline fracture in front of them. Up close, their bond became clear, even as they tried to hide it. For the uninitiated, that deception would have worked, but he knew Anakin well enough to read his every movement. That, in turn, reflected on Padme. Another epiphany soon dawned on Obi-Wan. It also reflected on himself. For all the stubbornness, the arguments, the subtle disdain that they sometimes had for each other, a new form of Anakin was emerging, something more authentic and human coming through since his promotion. Their competition still manifested as competition, but rather than trying to step on each other, they made a subtle turn to verbal one-upmanship. All it took was leaving behind the bond of master and apprentice. For a moment, Obi-Wan's mind drifted from the mission, a volley of relentless questions whipping through. Was Anakin like this because Obi-Wan tried too hard to live up to Qui-Gon's dying request? If he had been more like Qui-Gon and less like what he thought a Jedi mentor should be, would Anakin have such defiance in him? As Anakin and Padme oversaw the data upload, Obi-Wan finally identified this strange feeling in him, something so rare and foreign that it took a barrage of questions and the weight of self-doubt to recognize: regret. Qui-Gon had occasionally revealed his own questions and insecurities, even turning down a seat on the Jedi Council to remain Obi-Wan's teacher. Yet did it ever coalesce into something quite like this? But as he'd been trained since he was a youngling, Obi-Wan let the feeling go, allowing it to evaporate into nothing rather than stifling it down into a scar that might fester. He faced new questions as he watched the subtle exchanges between Anakin and the holographic Padme. The way the young Jedi Knight allowed a smile to break through over something as benign as 70% uploaded. The way the former Queen of Naboo held her gaze much longer than she should have. And the way Anakin's feelings radiated outward, as if his heart were a sun heating the entire data center. What might he learn from this moment about Anakin, about himself, about their time as master and apprentice, about how things needed to move forward one way or another? The last few days only reinforced Anakin's overwhelming willingness to simply care. That caring someday might make the difference between life and death, a right decision and a wrong decision stemming from a mere blink of emotion. Earlier that day, the situation with Qatar would have been vastly different in a matter of seconds. In war, seconds might define the fate of the galaxy. The status bar on the screen crept to full before flashing several times as confirmation. "I see it," Padme said. "3PO and I will begin processing it. We'll contact you once we're off Kea the Moya," Anakin said. This time he angled himself away from watching eyes, though his reflection gave away that he'd saved a soft look for the senator. "Understood, Master Skywalker," she said, an intentional monotone worthy of her time as Queen of Naboo under all the makeup and headdresses. Her image faded away and R2-D2 disconnected from the terminal with his usual chatter. "That's right, R2, Anakin said. "Let's head out." "Wait," Rug held up a hand, the surveillance blocker in her palm. "There's something I need to do." She pulled the sniper rifle off her back and lodged it onto her shoulder with her other hand, her thumb flipping the switch on the side. Servos and actuators whirred inside. The weapon the bearer was drawing to a length of a standard action rifle. "What is this?" Anakin said, his instinct getting the better of him. The young Jedi blue lightsaber came to life, its glowing filling the dimly lit archive. "Wait," Obi-Wan said. "Lower your weapon. Rug, are you taking us in?" "We are still on opposite sides. It's important to remember that." Rug blinked, the red of the terminal screens reflecting off her green skin as much as Anakin's blade. "I am not taking you in, but I need it to look like I tried." "What are you talking about?" Anakin said, an impatience growing in his tone. "I'm staying here. I'm an active guard, but Qatar will identify me as a traitor. My best chance at avoiding execution so I can keep fighting for the Neimoidians is to fight you." "Rug, you are my friend. I respect your crusade. I do not wish to fight you," Obi-Wan said. "If you respect what I stand for, then I need you to face me in battle now." She lifted the surveillance disabler. "I'm going to turn the surveillance system back on, and then Kea the Moya will see me defend the data center. You'll overpower me and escape. We need to make it look good." Obi-Wan had just lectured Anakin about impossible choices. Raising his lightsaber against Rug was yet another one. "I understand, but if we do this, I will be the one, Anakin, and the youngling should head to the ship." "Agreed." Rug looked up around and presumably at security systems and surveillance cams embedded into the walls. Things that only a native Nemoidian with the commando train would understand and expect. You should go, she said to Anakin. Oh, I think it's not. We seem to be made to suffer. Don't you love the foreshadowing that everyone already knows what's going to happen? I know, right? A lot of the thing about Star Wars is it's not about spoilers. It's just about like um future stuff that like the foreshadowing the stories before. That's why the spoilers don't really matter too much. It's mainly about like the morality story about it. Okay, where was I? What do you say? Where did I leave off? Okay, agreed. Rugg looked up around, presumably at security systems and surveillance cams embedded in the walls, things that only a native commando Nemoidian would know. I'll catch up, Obi-Wan said, giving Anakin a nod. Mill, is the way clear? Yes, Master, she called out as she perched by the exit. Let's hurry, Anakin said. He stepped forward, the tails of his dark tunic whipping out behind him as he moved to the door, only pausing to catch Mill at a standstill. But she wasn't petrified by fear or other people's suffering. Instead, wistful eyes sat over a quiet smile on her face. You're a good person, she said to Rugg. I can feel it. Youngling, I hope you have many years knowing much more than this war. Shit, I hope so too. We would try to make that happen, Obi-Wan said, pulling out his lightsaber. Anakin took Mill's hand, the security door sliding open to let them out, followed by R2-D2 rolling as fast as possible. If we see each other again, it may be on the battlefield. A heavy exhale came from Rugg, something that carried enough weight to break her soldier stance, if just for a second. If that does happen, then at least it'll be honorable. But let's hope cooler heads are listening. All Obi-Wan could do at this point was nod. I am ready. For independence, said Rugg. Her thumb flicked a side switch on her rifle's grip as a high-pitched hum came from the weapon, indicating that its firing chamber had hit maximum charge. Obi-Wan flexed his finger over his lightsaber hilt, then whirled into a ready position, his right hand behind him while the blade lay parallel to the floor, the heat from its palpable against his cheeks. His weight rested on his back foot and his left arm extended fully, 2 fingers out for precise balance. For the Republic. A click sound echoed over the archive walls as Rugg reactivated the surveillance system. Gotta make it look good. Please spare the youngling. I think we will see her again. I really hope so. Or it could just be a tragedy that she was like a lesson or like a tool for Obi-Wan to see that maybe Anakin's ready for Ahsoka. But I really hope we see her again. My instincts are telling me no. But that's just the pessimist inside of me. But I'm like, I really hope we see her again. She's awesome. And it's very rare we see a Zabrak Jedi. It's a sad face, I know. We blame Anakin for that. Bro, how messed up would it be if Anakin was the one who killed her? That would be so sad. That would be so sad. Oh my god. If Anakin ended up being the one that kills her, bro. Oh my god. That would be heartbreaking. That'd be terrible. And she could feel all people's pain and emotion. So I wonder what she was feeling when Order 66 was happening. She must have been overwhelmed. This is... Sorry, I just got home. This is the other hour. I had no Wi-Fi. Oh. Okay. McDonald's Wi-Fi is better, damn. Is it? I don't know. Sorry, I'm chewing on ice. That's refreshing. Welcome, Michi. I missed a lot. Yeah, well, basically what happened is, Obi-Wan and Anakin, they disarmed the bomb, captured a very angry Nemoidian, found the evidence they needed, transmitted it to Padme, and now they had to fight the good one to make it look good so she doesn't get executed. And now we're on chapter 48, Anakin Skywalker. Halfway to the shuttle, the alarm sirens rang across the city. Then came the battle droids. I guess they saw Obi-Wan. Anakin said. Mill kept pace as they continued, alley upon alley, block after block. The path, which seemed so free of any resistance not too long ago, now filled with random sprinkles of battle droids, which meant the use of a lightsaber as needed, deflecting blaster bolts and slicing through the opposition. And though it was all necessary, such actions seemed to wear at Mill's emotional defenses. He moved with a swift precision, at times more in tune with the currents of the Force than he was even at the arena at Geonosis. Despite the hindrance of his mechanical arm, his lightsaber swung from side to side, tilting from angle to angle, covering from forward to backward, all to protect Mill as they dashed ahead, the volume of battle droids increasing the further they went. R2-D2 trailed behind, but between the rockets in his legs and some well-timed electrical zaps, the astromech history of effective movement in combat came through once again, and at least until a stray blaster bolt finally caught up with his luck, frying one of his boosters so he could only roll to keep up. Oh no, not R2. I think we're clear, Anakin said, leading Mill up and over a building before braking hard to the side and pointing at a sewer gate. R2-D2 beeped in affirmative, rolling around the building to catch up on the other side, continuing scans for seeker remotes or battle droids. The grate proved heavy, but the combination of adrenaline and force-assisted strength quickly pushed it aside to let Mill drop down. R2-D2 followed, floating down with wobbly single rocket power, and finally Anakin disappeared as well. With the Force, Anakin pulled at the gate, dragging it back into its place to cover their tracks. They moved quickly, taking advantage of the cover. R2-D2 projected a map that connected the underground passages into the segments that brought them close to their ship. There it is, Anakin said as they turned to the corner, a half circle of light awaiting them at the end of the tunnel. R2-D2 beeped some directions about what lay ahead, a small drainage waterfall that poured out over a ledge all the way down the planet's surface. More important, their ship was perched directly above them. After a few calculated force-assisted jumps, the only remaining hurdle would be Obi-Wan's return. Yet something strange awaited them at the end of the tunnel, and it took Anakin several seconds to realize that the low rumble he heard came from a ship hovering at the exit rather than anything to do with the tunnel itself. A strange ship, for sure, one with a bulbous front cockpit, a thin line for some sort of tall tail fin. Oh, that's Ventress's ship. Wait, he broke into a cry, now reaching to the Force to heighten his senses. Stay behind me. Oh, this might be how Anakin gets his, yeah, I think this is how Anakin gets his scar. I think he's about to fight Ventress right now. Wait, he broke into a crouch, now reaching into the Force to heighten his senses. Stay behind me, he said, one arm out to act as a barrier for Mill and the other holding his now lit lightsaber. Something's not right. I think I've seen that ship before. As he said that, a mechanized buzz echoed from the hovering craft, and Anakin squinted until he saw the noise came from the cannon atop the tail fin. And as he adjusted his angle, it became clear that it wasn't just a tail fin, but a half-circle fan blade. The cockpit sitting in the middle. The cannon shifted slightly, and Anakin draped his body over Mill when he realized what was happening. The sound of a single cannon burst quickly became a rumble of breaking duracrete and the clang of falling metal. The bright exit disappearing in an instant. Now trapped in complete darkness, Anakin held his lightsaber in front of him, both a defensive stance and an effort to provide some light, though at this point his Jedi senses would be of greater use. I'm okay, Mill whispered. It's you, isn't it? That voice. It boomed out, ringing through the tunnel. Anakin knew exactly who was speaking. The mystery voice from Obi-Wan's comlink. The question was halfway between cold threat and amused mockery, and his eyes searched the darkness for its origin. So you're Kenobi's partner. His instincts called at him to fly forward at the mystery figure, lightsaber swinging. Had he been alone, that might have been the acceptable strategy, but the encounter with Dooku on Geonosis lingered in his mind, and while he gripped his lightsaber hilt with both hands, a moment of doubt slipped in. Would his mechanical hand move with the exact blend of precision and power the moment required without any visibility to aid him? Go to the corner and hide, Anakin whispered. Stay out of sight. R2, protect her. His voice rose to a full shout, loud enough to cover the sound of Mill sneaking off. We're just passing through. We'll be off planet in minutes. He suggests you step aside as we move that rubble. If his eyes scan for any movement in the black, you want to live. That's a weird sentence. His eyes scan for any movement in the black. Should be in the dark. You want to live? Is that a threat? The woman said with a laugh. It had to be Dooku's agent. Kenobi I could deal with. He's so polite. But you are more. As she spoke, Anakin approached, the hum of his lightsaber tracking with his forward movement. Curious, his boots stepped with a measured gait, a conscious effort to slow down and stay grounded. I've dealt with Dooku's minions before. Oh, I am aware of that. It's never ended well for them. What makes you think you'll have a better chance than the last one? The woman's only response was a laugh that rang through the dark, then nothing. Then footsteps, pounding against the stone of the tunnel, wiring by him so fast that he could get a sense of where or how. He swung his lightsaber out, a clear arc in front of him. Though it failed to connect, the footsteps continued, rushing in front and behind, all around in the loop up in the circular tunnel. And Anakin shut his eyes, letting the Force guide him, telling him where to angle, where to step, where to turn. Both hands gripped his hilt, the flesh of his natural hand working with the mechanics of his gloved limb. He took a split second to think about how to eternally collaborate for the difference, but that opening was enough for the steps to stop, foot ramming in the gut before two glowing red lines blazed to life. Weapons of the Sith. Anakin's lightsaber swung halfway up, sparks bursting off as the blades pushed against each other. The brilliance of the weapons painted the space, and they fought with each swing meaning another swing. The burning impact created a storm of flashes throughout the tunnel. His hands held the hilt overhead, advancing with the bright blade ready, looking for an open area to strike. But what this woman lacked in refined technique, she made up for in speed, and they circled each other as they fought. The pop and snap of lightsabers loud enough to bounce off the tunnel's stone walls. You are strong. Count Dooku will be most interested in your progress. She attacked, her blades crossing against his, a test of strength as they pushed against each other. I've already met the Count. He's far less interesting than he seems to think. His mechanical wrist flexed and he tapped into its innate strength, allowing him to shove the woman back before he followed up with a quick swipe. But he misjudged how much power came with the extra robotics, the woman stumbling back too far for his 1-2 combo to be effective. The woman backed off and deactivated her lightsabers again, disappearing into the tunnel. He improvised, charging forward again, this time back to basics, direct high and mid slashes, moves that would overpower if they connected properly. To his left, he heard the distinct stomp of a boot pressing off the curved wall, and red lightsabers burst out over him. Anakin turned now on his back heel, but swung hard enough to knock the crimson beams down. His balance off, he barely had time to comprehend the sound of the woman's skirt whirling around as she switched tactics, kicking him in the gut before swooping the toes of her boot into the side of his mouth. The impact caused a grunt, though he brought his blade back up for a quick block. But it was too late, because while Mill didn't call out his name or yell, her sharp inhale was enough to draw the woman's attention. Oh, now her blades were back up, fully adjusted in her hands. Look at this, you're not alone. Red shadows shifted, only faint details of cheeks and eyes moving into what turned into a smile. Now this is interesting. Oh my god, Ventress, don't do it. Anakin pushed her back, then attacked using straightforward swings and thrusts. He moved with aggression, a willingness to leave himself with a few vulnerable openings in exchange for an assault that blanketed his opponent. His edge returned, pure mastery of form compensating for the lingering concerns about his right arm. With the mystery woman on her heels, Anakin seized the woman. Mill, run to the end of the tunnel. What she'd do when she got there, Anakin hadn't figured out yet, but getting her on the opposite end at least put him in a position to shield her. The two red lightsabers whirled, and Anakin heard Mill sprinting off toward the collapsed tunnel exit. Anakin dashed backward, then used the Force to grasp at the mystery assailant. She stumbled, slowing her down enough that she could close the gap between him and Mill, and he reached into the Force to throw an invisible fist at the fallen rubble. A chunk of it popped out, creating a poking beam of light. He did it again, further debris jostling out, and again, to the point that the small hole now gave way to an opening where he could actually see the woman's fan-shaped craft. The assassin now walked with an even pace, one red blade in each hand. Enough light shone through the details of her features became clear. From her harsh eyes to her shaven head, her silhouette revealed a form-fitting outfit complemented with a flowing skirt, its sash belt whipping out behind her from the breeze. But before he could fully take in her distinguishing features, she dashed forward. "Who is this youngling you're so desperate to protect?" she asked. Now he wasn't just in combat with her, he had to guard Mill from her. She swung at him, back and forth, exchange of thrusts and parries, except now she used the force to knock a piece out the rubble wall and throw a chunk his way. He gripped his lightsaber, still holding it in the proper technique with both hands, but his organic hand wanted to move just a hair faster than his robotic hand, despite the enhanced strength and durability of the synthetic appendage. He glanced behind them. The rubble was now about halfway cleared, enough that if Mill and R2 squeezed, they could nearly climb out. And you, youngling, is he your master? Have you not gone to Ilum yet for the gathering? Don't answer, Anakin said, taking a step forward, another two-handed slash, but one she blocked with ease. His left palm opened, pulling out loose debris through the force to open the hole further, but she attacked quickly, a flurry of strikes. Yet the strangest thing happened. While his fighting style often worked with two-handed grip, Anakin instinctively parried with his robotic hand alone, and in doing so under attack from a mysterious combatant and with a youngling to protect, its inherent differences rose to the surface. His arm didn't need to be calibrated to his old instincts. No, it was much simpler. His mind had to adapt to his arm. With that, everything shifted. Just like his relationship with Obi-Wan, all he had to do was accept that it had changed. There's conflict in you, youngling. I myself was once lost. Frightened girl who didn't understand her own potential, just like you. The woman squinted, tilting her head. Interesting, a Zabrak. I know them well, and what is that? Now I sense something different from you. Yes, of course, she nodded, her lips curling upward. Your fear reveals much about you. You question this Jedi life, as you should. Whether the words were meant as a taunt to draw him out or a genuine conjecture, Anakin didn't know because they triggered an instinctive reaction, a sort of autopilot among him, his lightsaber and the Force. But rather than his arms being just out of sync with this flow, it now lined up, not a different piece of himself, but something unique and powerful, something that added to his abilities now that he knew how to harness it. His need to defend Mill, the drive to make things right, to take responsibility for this youngling he brought along, all of it focused into a single outburst. His lightsaber swung with frightening speed, and suddenly all the woman's vulnerabilities became visible to him. His perception of time slowing down to show him possibilities before they happened. He attacked, sometimes both hands joined on his lightsaber hilt, sometimes with natural flesh and sometimes with synthetic parts, each option being used to the fullest of its capabilities, and now he was the relentless onslaught, the hurricane of flashing blue pushing against the receding wave of red. With each swing he marched forward and angling the woman toward the tunnel exit, every thrust calculated to keep her off balance, to turn her two blades from an advantage to disadvantage, to prevent her from leaping over him or utilizing the environment as a weapon. Despite all this, the woman laughed, and suddenly her focus tilted to Mill's direction. But do not worry, young one. You are right to question the Jedi. Let me show you another path. I will free you from the ponderous shackles of the Jedi. His lightsaber slashed downward at her, making her unsteady, and Anakin looked as her whole body shifted. One of her blades went dark, the hilted attached back at her belt, and with her free hand she pushed through the ether to open up a larger space in the falling breeze. Then she hurled the force against Anakin, just enough to knock him back to step before sprinting off. Her other red blade withdrew, also latching onto her belt, and she ran toward the opening. No, toward Mill. Mill, Anakin yelled as he started his own sprint at her, but the woman was too far ahead, and she reached out with her arm to scoop up the youngling. Anakin's instinct kicked in, and rather than trying to catch up, he reached out to the force to secure Mill with his mechanical hand, but it was too late. The mystery woman's swift pursuit allowed her to grab Mill by the waist as she landed on top of her craft. The ship dipped slightly with the impact, sinking into the fog for a moment before stabilizing, but it was enough for her to lose her connection. Anakin's grip extended through the force, taking the moment to pull on the young Zabrak, shaking her loose. Mill saw the opportunity as well and slammed on the woman's arm to escape her grasp. Guided by Anakin, she floated toward a solid ground when she felt a pull in the other direction. It looked up and saw the woman standing on top of her cockpit, both arms extended, Mill caught between them. A massive drop through the mist to the planet's surface below the youngling. Mill hovered through the opening, arms outstretched. Anakin and the woman equally tapped into the force to pull her from each side. Master, Mill cried out, help me! He remained in mid-air, halfway between the tunnel's broken opening and the cockpit of the ship belonging to Dooku's agent. Through the force, Anakin felt her grip tighten, like a hand interlocking with his fingers. Come on, Mill, he said, you can do this. She's mine, Skywalker. Let her train with a true master. How did this woman know his name? Ventress, a voice called out from above. Obi-Wan, out of sight, but presumably somewhere above the tunnel. Obi-Wan, Anakin yelled, I've got Mill. The hum of a lightsaber came to life, then Anakin saw it. A blue blade thrown with precision, not at the assassin, but at vital parts in the hull of her ship. It pierced into its side. A puff of smoke followed by a sort of burst of flame, and the ship began to sink, not at a full speed nosedive, but the gradual descent of a key systems failing. The hilt flew back, and Anakin heard it snap back into Obi-Wan's palm. Mill soared to Anakin, landing in his arms. He set her immediately down, then dashed to the edge of the open tunnel to see this woman, Ventress, scrambling to get in the cockpit as the ship gained more and more downward momentum. Anakin, I suggest we leave right now. Anakin looked up to see Obi-Wan peering over the ledge, one hand extended. Without asking, Mill grabbed it. Anakin boosted her up, then climbed to meet Obi-Wan, who used the Force to help R2-D2 steady himself with just one working rocket. Mill stood with heavy breaths, but as she took Anakin's hand, her head tilted up and a small smile crossed her lips. Are aggressive negotiations always like this? Bro, oh my god, I was sweating, bro. I thought something was gonna happen to this Padawan. Miami J unbelievable. Yeah, Karen is in charge of this. This isn't very feminist of him. I really thought it was the end. I know, right? Oh my god. I'm not gonna lie, I was sweating. I'm like, no, don't do it, Star Wars. I know you like to do bad things to the young people, but please don't. Anakin closed the boarding ramp while R2-D2 scanned for any signs of Ventress or her ship. The hydraulics hissed at the hardway pulled upward to seal them back up, and Noriko rumbled with a start-up as rough as her external condition. You alright? Anakin asked, gesturing at the burn marks on Obi-Wan's tunic. Rugg put up a tough fight, he said, glancing backward. She's a survivor. I have complete faith in her. I could say the same thing about Mill. He pointed at her in the back room, her legs crossed as she sat on the floor. That woman, she is a dangerous threat. We need... Yes, Obi-Wan nodded, deep lines of concern across his brow. I understand. Dooku's agent. I have a feeling we'll see much more of her. You will. He shook his head, his shoulder-length hair flowing from side to side. The youngling is safe, thank God. Shaken, they elevated the cityscape below them, becoming smaller and smaller, but safe. She's brave. She is a Jedi, Obi-Wan said, with such belief in his words, an absolute synthesis of bravery and purpose, as if it were impossible for the two to be separate, whether initiate, Padawan, or Jedi Knight. Anakin turned away from Obi-Wan. Thoughts pulled in so many directions as the shuttle broke atmosphere. The galaxy map appeared on the main console, and Anakin punched in coordinates to Coruscant, mapping out a zigzagging route designed to shake any suspicion of the Trade Federation might have of a suddenly departed shuttle. What about you? Obi-Wan asked. You are safe as well. Me? Anakin looked at his mechanical arm, the fingers gripping the shuttle throttle in a way that started to feel more instinctive. I may have to start training a little differently. The blanket of stars in front of them bled into the star lines, and the shuttle shook as they entered the tunnel of hyperspace. But I'm fine. I always am. Chapter 49, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Senator Amidala appeared on the shuttle's communications screen, Senator Amidala appeared on the shuttle's communication screen. A more formal version of herself compared with several hours ago when they had interrupted her journey from Coruscant to Naboo. As if her clothes were her armor, her entire demeanor changed, with a shimmering dark gray cloak draped over her shoulders and hair molded into an oval metal headpiece. The simple pendant from earlier had been swapped for more ornate jewelry. Though Anakin still carried himself differently when Padme was involved, her subtle glances or the split second lingers disappeared with her more formalized attire. Was this the level of control that came with being queen at a Padawan's age? 3PO and I have processed the data. I have also viewed a recording of Master Kenobi's speech on Kala Moria. Obi-Wan, she said, eyes turning to him. I agree with your findings. There is a clear third party here, which puts the entire balance of the galaxy at risk. I will share it first with the Chancellor, then the Senate Security Committee. Do not share with the Chancellor. Palpatine? Obi-Wan asked, a rare slip in his discipline. Anakin turned with a quizzical look on his face, and even Padme's head angled at the question. Is there a problem with the Chancellor? She asked. This was not the right company to question Palpatine, and while the Chancellor steered the Republic through many layers of bureaucratic churn, often toward a more effective society compared with his procedures, he still operated under a politician's mindset, allowing cultural passions and prejudice to influence his agenda. Something like this needed more objectivity. It is not a problem with the Chancellor or any single individual. Given the nature of this evidence, I feel it is best served by being released independently, directly to the Republic without the filter of politics. Obi-Wan says right. Don't trust Palpatine. Even if you don't know he's a Sith Lord, he is a politician. Master Kenobi, I respect your opinion, but this is a matter of security. It must go through Republic channels. And Padme said, I have known the Chancellor a long, long time. We may not agree on everything, but I know he will give it the appropriate consideration. I trust him, Anakin said, an almost reflexive defense. He's a good man. I've already let his office know that I have an urgent communication for him. As soon as we enter orbit around Naboo, I will present this to him personally. Thank you, Senator, Obi-Wan said, bowing his head, for all your service. Well, now we know why the war continues. It went through Palpatine. I look forward to seeing you two in person again soon. Me too, Anakin said. Me too, Anakin said. Again, his energy surged, and as it did, a small despair crept into Obi-Wan's thought. Anakin just couldn't help himself. And that didn't explain everything. Anakin stood up and pointed to the back storage room where Mill rested. I'm going to check on Mill, he said. Maybe should try to get some sleep myself. R2, can I trust you to fly the ship? From the cockpit, the droid beeped. Very funny, R2, Obi-Wan retorted. Just because I don't like flying doesn't mean that I'm not capable of it. R2 roasting Obi-Wan. Then his voice dropped as he glanced back at Anakin, who was checking the control panel one last time. Though I certainly don't mind staying here for a moment, I have to contact the Jedi Council anyway. Obi-Wan waited for Anakin to be out of hearing range to begin with the discussion with Yoda, Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, Even Peel, and the rest of the Jedi Council. And while most of it focused on the chronological recap of events on Caelum Moidia and the emergence of Asajj Ventress, there wasn't much to say from a strategic perspective. The next step lay in the hands of the Chancellor, something that both Yoda and Mace seemed to embrace on the same level as Anakin and Padme. And you guys are Jedi Council Masters? Come on now. There was, however, one further revelation from recent days that needed dealing with. Master Kenobi... Oh, this is Master Yoda. Master Kenobi, more to say, have you? Seconds. They have been mere seconds away from Qatar detonating the final bomb itself, and any sort of emotional entanglements or simple carrying could easily pull someone away from those slivers of time. Had those seconds come in another situation, one where Anakin's decision making might make or break the galaxy, how would his personal feelings interfere? The issue required a confrontation, but as Obi-Wan considered the flickering image of the Jedi Council, he asked himself, should they be the first to know? No, Obi-Wan should speak to Anakin about this before presenting it to the Council. At the very least, he owed that to his former apprentice. Nothing else. We will arrive at Coruscant shortly. Very well, Yoda said. Upon your return, speak to you, I will. Impressive diplomacy, Master Kenobi. Very impressive. Obi-Wan responded with a simple nod, his mind too preoccupied with the weight of Anakin Skywalker to really consider what Master Yoda's cryptic farewell meant. The image of the Jedi Council faded as he leaned back in the rickety chair, squeaks and squeals coming from its old joints. He listened for noise from the back storage, and Anakin's deep, muffled voice clearly registered, followed soon by Mill's similarly muffled voice. Their old ship may have been built for hauling deliveries, as piracy didn't seem to be a concern. Obi-Wan shook his head and told himself to be productive at a time like this, at least until a quiet moment with Anakin presented itself. He considered a restful meditation, and though he accomplished that in many uncomfortable places before, this particular ship offered enough physical irritants to make that impossible. Instead, he turned on the comm system again, this time tuning into the holonet in case Count Dooku made any sort of public statement about the events of the last day. Dang, that all happened in a day, that's crazy. But the fallen Jedi Master wasn't on the screen when he turned it on. Instead, he took in a quick gasp, one that he really hoped Anakin didn't hear. Because on the screen, the words live broadcast in the upper corner stood Satine Kryze of Mandalore. This newly formed Council of Neutral Systems will stand on principles, not violence. For once we commit to violence, we have already lost. The cam hovered close to Satine's face as she spoke from the royal palace on Mandalore, her purple headdress and swooping neckline of her blue outfit rivaling Padme's in elaborate design. Extremism is rising across the galaxy. It must be extinguished before more lives are lost. There's only one solution for all of us, on all sides, de-escalation. And there's only one path to de-escalation, refusing to contribute to this war. The line made Obi-Wan sit up. Was the quoting his speech, or was this just the most incredible coincidence? He watched now. Previous fatigue traded for a spike in attention, and though she argued against what he lobbied for, she framed it in the most compelling way. A statement delivered to urge planets and systems to reconsider their stance on the Clone Wars, no matter what side they were on. War is intolerable, and for those on either side that believe it is the only way, listen to me now. That is wrong. Killing will only beget more killing, and Mandalore will not be a part of it. I know many others feel the same way, and they will all see how logical peace is. Whoever is out there, whoever is listening, now that the Council of Neutral Systems stands for peace, and we invite all of you to stand with us. The screen flipped over to a HoloNet news reporter who promptly began chattering over images of Satine mixed within Count Dooku, Chancellor Palpatine, and clone battalions. That was Satine Kryze, leader of the Council of Neutral Systems. As the Duchess of Mandalore, Kryze has rejected Mandalore's history of violence for a pacifist movement, and now she is asking others to come along. Is this a reasonable path given the terrorist attacks of the Confederacy of Inda? Obi-Wan flipped the switch on the council and the signal faded to black. Though her words repeated in his mind, killing will only beget more killing, and Mandalore would not be a part of it. Even during that brief period together when Satine's idealism intoxicated Obi-Wan's euthanism, she talked of a peaceful Mandalore. Such an idea seemed as impossible as arguing with gravity itself, and yet there she was, organizing an entire star system to join her pacifist movement. Had they run off together? Had he left the Jedi Order and she chosen a completely different life? What impact would they have on the galaxy? And now, because they grew past their feelings and trusted in their past, she led Mandalore in a bold new direction while he sat newly appointed in the rarefied air of the Jedi Council. The door to the back jammed halfway across, and Anakin's fingers gripped the edge, pushing it free. He said, coming out of the back room, this ship is too bumpy to get any rest. I heard you watching the HoloNet. Anything interesting happening out there? The opportunity for quiet conversation was here, and he knew exactly what to say, how he wanted to say it. Yet Satine's words jarred him off that path, creating a hesitancy to use the moment presented in front of him. Obi-Wan watched as his former apprentice knelt down to examine the door's sliding mechanism, likely already considering all the options he had to fix it. It took a little bit of time and discipline for both Obi-Wan and Satine to find their way. Could Anakin achieve the same maturity? Of all the questions impossible to answer over recent days, this proved to be perhaps the most inscrutable. And inscrutable meant that he would be patient for now. Nothing important, Obi-Wan said. Dang, Obi-Wan needs to have a talk with Anakin, bro. I'm gonna stop all of this. Chapter 50, Anakin Skywalker. Coruscant's mix of fresh air and industrial fuel burn felt like home to Anakin. Strange for someone who grew up on the desert planet that seemed to collect most of the galaxy's Ascaria technology. Mill, on the other hand, didn't seem nearly as enthusiastic about the return. Her shoulders slumped and she avoided anyone's gaze, instead looking down or away the whole time. Obi-Wan marched off without a second thought, and R2-D2 rolled behind, wheels bumping over the uneven deck plates on the loading ramp. I see Master Yoda down there, she said as Anakin knelt down. He glanced over his shoulder to see the Grand Master ambling toward Obi-Wan, and moving gingerly with his cane to meet Obi-Wan halfway up before promptly starting their discussion. Looks like he wanted to brief Obi-Wan immediately, but hey, Anakin said, his cheeks lifting with a smile. This is good timing. I can tell him about everything you've accomplished. You're close to the age for being selected as a full Padawan. I imagine once word gets out, several Jedi Knights will want. Master, Mill said, looking up at him. Their eyes finally connected, and he could see the confidence she'd built up over the past few days, lurking behind a sudden nervousness, something that seemed out of character for the person she'd become. I know you feel like you don't fit in. I feel that way too. A questioning, he said, and though he didn't want to mention Ventress, he considered her very words in the tunnel. but you could turn that into something stronger. Your empathy, your abilities, they set you apart. You deserve to be a Jedi. You've connected with the Force. You've learned to control it. Anakin thought back to a quiet moment with Qui-Gon, something hidden from everyone else, possibly even Obi-Wan, on the passage to Naboo. He repeated the fallen Jedi Knight's words now in a position where they never felt so true. It will be a hard life, but in the end, you will find out who you are. I understand, she said, which should have come with joy, but her look gave away that further gears turned in her mind. A new consideration, if not peace, then some sort of resignation. I can sense the uncertainty in you, and I feel that way. I think back to a story my mother used to tell me. Your mother? Her focus changed, eyes dropping to his chest, as if she saw right into the very essence of his being. Yes, this is a story of one of my earliest memories. Anakin hesitated, the confluence of different emotions stealing his breath for a moment. It's about a Tatooine myth, the Sun Dragon. The Sun Dragon is a beast that lives inside a star, guarding everything it treasures. Nothing could hurt it. Not fire, not flame. It survived, though. It survived through the most impossible circumstances. Even life in the core of a star, because the Sun Dragon had the biggest heart in the galaxy, a burning furnace powerful enough to protect everything and everyone it loved. My mother used to tell me the story in different ways, a celebration for good days, a lesson for bad days, but it always returned to one thing, the most important thing. Your heart can take you where you want to go, where you need to go, because it is strong enough. That is why I'm telling you this now. Anakin put his hands on her shoulders, just as Qui-Gon had so many years. You are strong enough. Through everything we've just faced in the past few days, you've shown me exactly who you are. You're brave, you're smart, and you have a unique gift, unlike any I've encountered within the Order. You could do anything your heart wants. Mill's lips pursed, her eyes dropping, not in defeat but clear contemplation. You believe that, don't you? Yes, Mill, I believe that more than anything. He moved to sit down on the rickety deck plates, his intentions turning in a way that he wished Obi-Wan had done more often. Though perhaps his own stubbornness, his constant need to one-up his mentor, ate up so much of their relationship that a moment like this proved impossible. Sit with me, breathe, just breathe, and feel your place in the Force. You'll see everything. Dang, this is what Anakin wanted Obi-Wan to do for him. That's crazy. The floor shook slightly as Mills sat down as well. The different distribution of weight tilting the uneven deck plate. He watched as she closed her eyes, then fell into a near motionless state, the only movement coming from her breathing and the occasional flutter under her eyelids. Seconds passed, then minutes passed. The world feeling still enough that Anakin heard Obi-Wan and Yoda's voices, but he couldn't tell how close or far they were. I feel the Force, she whispered. Join me in meditation. Anakin complied with the youngling's request, closing his eyes and reaching into the Force. Currents surrounded him like waves in an ocean, each one pushing and pulling. His way he views the Force is the same as a Jedi called Elsar Man in the High Republic. That's kind of weird. That's funny. His time with Padme, his changing bond with Obi-Wan, his loyalty to the Republic, to Chancellor Palpatine, how the recent days both challenged each of these and yet brought them all closer together, perhaps even bringing them toward a unification. He let himself float in his space, the pulsing currents batting him around. Within this ocean of the Force, a presence existed, an awareness, one that Anakin would encounter at times of extreme duress or deep meditation, something that felt like an equal parts guidance, soothing and questioning, something, despite his best intentions, he didn't listen to. Qui-Gon Jinn. Oh, he feels him in the cosmic force. Oh, that's cool. That came and went, replaced by something much more tangible. His mother, telling him the Sun Dragon stories as she sat on the edge of his bed, as he did so many nights in their small Tatooine home. The Sun Dragon. He was the Sun Dragon, with a heart more powerful than a star. He could do anything if he just cared enough. No, he would do anything. He would do everything. His existence in the Force was not a tug-of-war between duty and love, between friendship and partnership. It was all of those things and once. He would not try to stifle himself into just one path. His heart would burn bright and commit to all of it. He felt it now, the voice in his head whispering a simple truth. This was Anakin Skywalker, the one who would simply find a way. Mill broke him out of meditation with a sharp gasp. Anakin opened his eyes to find her looking straight at him. I understand, she said, and though she said those exact words just minutes ago, something about them carried a different weight, almost an inquisitiveness. You said that before, he said, a return to the physical realm that proved more jarring than most meditations. Yes, but this time I understand so much more. About so much more. Mill looked like each consecutive word lifted a weight off her shoulders. She got up first, this time holding her hand out. Anakin took it despite being older, taller, and significantly stronger than her, and yet her firm grip felt like it pulled exactly the right amount to lift him onto his feet. Thank you, Master Skywalker. I want you to know, she clasped her other hand around his, then shot him a look, her smile content, but her brow curious. I want you to know that I appreciate everything you've done for me. Of course. Are you ready, youngling? She nodded. I am. They turned only to find Yoda and Obi-Wan still standing halfway up the ramp rather than moving on. How much had they overheard? Master Yoda, Anakin said, his voice dropping to his usual deferential monotone. I'm sorry, I didn't... Deep meditation you were in. An important moment. Yoda tapped the ramp with his cane, its tip getting stuck for a moment in the grating passing wisdom. Passing wisdom, he said, in a slow and generous tone. Something to say, youngling? I do, Master Yoda. Anakin shot her a grin and encouraging nod as she looked up at him. I feel the Force. She took in a deep breath, nodding as well, but this may have been more for herself than acknowledging Anakin's gesture. I feel the Force, but I have no desire to ever become a Jedi Knight. Damn, that is a good proper decision. I mean, she lives. Pop, do you ever meditate to feel the Force? I've actually tried that sometimes, and it usually, it sometimes doesn't work, but sometimes, like, I get into, like, such a deep meditation that it almost feels like I'm connected to the universe, almost. But it's, like, it's very rare, because usually my mind gets distracted. The Force is felt truly by doing nothing. Yes and no. Sometimes you have to do nothing to feel everything. The voice, I see Michi slipping the Star Wars memes. I sent it to Pop too. Send me what, a meme? Did you send me a meme? Michi sent me a meme. Let's see what it is. It better be funny. Oh, this is, yeah. She sent me the Anakin, what Hayden Christensen said yesterday. He said, this is where the fun begins. This is where the fun begins. LOL, someone had the Mandalorian heat thing for their car. That's funny. That's funny. I can't get rid of the voice. Not like my voice, do you? Michelle, much to learn you still have. Yeah, I was like, hold up, I need to send this to Pop. LOL. I know that is such an iconic moment in Beamy. This is where the fun begins. Gremlin green old man noises. We love our old gremlin old men. Chapter 51, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Mill's words left the trio of Jedi quiet. Yoda let out a curious while Obi-Wan opted to not speak. It wasn't his place, but he watched Anakin with interest. He'd watched the entire thing this way, but both the conversation and impromptu meditation between Anakin and Mill. Yoda observing on the boarding ramp with enough presence to understand that something important was happening, that the flow of the Force was shifting, not in large, galaxy-changing ways, but something more personal. Important. These quiet moments are, Yoda said before they took several steps to the ramp. Echo forward, they do. Anakin's eyes went wide, as if he couldn't comprehend the youngling's statements or her intentions. Moments after he'd connected with Mill on such a deep level, after revealing something so personal as a story his mother told him, his expression ran a complete cycle of emotions. Obi-Wan knew what he would expect if it had been a conversation between them, arguing, of course, regardless of the topic, along with a nearly instinctive opposition leading Obi-Wan's eventual sigh of exasperation. And on the very rare occasion, irritation would overtake him enough to make a snide comment or scold. This, of course, was different, and also different from the conversations he'd observed with Padme. Obi-Wan cleared his mind of judgment, instead letting himself observe objectively. Though it seemed like minutes passed in silence, only perhaps 10 or 15 seconds ticked by, and finally Yoda answered Mill in a way surely designed to push everyone to consider further. Trials will determine that. Your true path, find you, it does. Mill looked up at Anakin, an uncertainty in her eyes, at Yoda's non-committal statement. Master Yoda, Anakin said, a calm gravity to his voice that Obi-Wan rarely heard, in fact, may never have heard. In recent days, I have learned to trust Initiate Alabeth's judgment. She is wise and brave, and with a unique connection to the Force that guides her path. If there's one lesson I've passed on to her during our short time together, it's to trust in yourself. I believe we should listen without judgment to her feelings on this. Between Anakin's short speech and the quiet moments with Mill, it dawned on Obi-Wan that the young man's actions reflected the teachings of someone else, Qui-Gon Jinn. Anakin stood next to the youngling, and all of the concerns about how much he was guided by carrying instead of faith in the Force suddenly took on a new context. The typical stoic discipline of their ways, always fighting with Anakin's overwhelming impulses. This was a problem, wasn't it? But it also encompassed the way Qui-Gon would have taught him. Another question came to Obi-Wan, something that stunned him enough that his shift in demeanor even caught Anakin's attention. If he had just a drop of that willingness to think outside of the Jedi way, would things have been different with Satine? Obi-Wan felt his pulse accelerate, a discomfort at such a thought before he let it drift away, accepting that it would pass, or at least he tried. Despite a lifelong instinct for clearing his mind, questions began rolling up on one another, all leading to a consideration about what it would be to like. I missed something. What it would be like to feel the way Qui-Gon did, and to see it in such an extreme as Anakin did. Was it wrong or just different? They stood in the entry of the barely functional shuttle, a constant dripping noise coming from somewhere since the vehicle docked. Yoda watched, his face neutral, as he awaited something from Mill. Anakin also watched her, but an urgency colored in his look. It was clear he wanted Mill to have whatever she wanted, even if he didn't fully agree. Right then and there, Obi-Wan finally understood that he'd been wrong about what Qui-Gon meant to either of them. So wrong, in fact, that it astonished him. It took a decade, an emerging war, and the dual promotion of Anakin's Jedi Knighthood and Obi-Wan's ascension to the Jedi Council for him to realize this. Anakin had said before that Obi-Wan was the closest thing he had to a father, but that wasn't totally true. However, brief or long, Qui-Gon molded both of them, ushering them into paths based on belief that they had greater destinies. Their lives were not intertwined by the ties of master and apprentice, or any fatherly relationship. It was greater, longer than that, a bond that grew from the moment they shook hands on the Queen's ship above Tatooine. Obi-Wan and Anakin were forever bound by something without rules or obligations, something intangible yet powerful and fragile, the faith that Qui-Gon Jinn had in each of them. With that epiphany, it was if the universe tilted, colors and light and sound absorb it into his senses through a slightly different filter. Yet in a blink, it all became part of Obi-Wan Kenobi, his disciplined Jedi mind so committed to a life of flow that these monumental shifts simply integrated into his very being. Tell us, youngling, Obi-Wan said in a soft voice, though his eyes connected with Anakin. We wish to hear. I have a different way of connecting to the Force, Mill started. She is special. I've seen it myself, Anakin said. Go on, you can tell Master Yoda. The youngling nodded, then gulped with hesitation. I believe in you. Anakin's short expression of confidence opened the door for Mill, as if all she needed to speak was someone's encouragement. Yoda listened with an intent while Anakin waited, letting the youngling take the lead. The gentle prodding, so different from his fierce determination on the battlefield, or in an argument with Obi-Wan, proved to be the difference. His feelings, the way they pulled at him, a potential distraction in a time of war. They also powered him to connect with Mill in ways that Obi-Wan didn't comprehend. That insight required a certain maturity that hadn't existed in him as a Padawan. Or maybe Obi-Wan simply hadn't let himself see it before. Yet here, on the boarding ramp of a ship that barely held together, he began to understand. Anakin had faith in Mill, and finally, after so many years of self-doubt and petty gripes, Obi-Wan found himself starting to truly recognize Qui-Gon's faith in Anakin. Oh, Nose is back. The concert was amazing. My singing and rapping was the best it's ever been. Nice. Truly my magnum opus. Kingdom Hearts reference. Nose rapping with some talent. The only regret, I don't want to overshadow the music industry just yet. I'm not ready for that kind of fame. I think you are, my mate. Ultra. Nose will be the next pop star that we'll see on every music channel on the internet. Chapter 52, the last chapter. Anakin Skywalker. Palpatine's speech played out in front of them. Anakin and Obi-Wan stood in the alcove of the Senate, watching the mix of theatrical oration and dense political policy. Somewhere on the other side of the massive rotunda was sat Padme, probably with Bail Organa. Other Jedi lingered in the outer hallways, listening as their fate would be decided by politicians rather than the Jedi Council, though many remained in the Jedi Temple itself. It is profoundly disappointing that in the aftermath of the Kenobi tragedy, the Trade Federation today has reaffirmed its commitment to neutrality, despite the overwhelming and, I dare say, disturbing evidence presented by the Republic. The fact that other Sandor forces are at play is clear, and the only choice is this: we must do whatever we can for this war to reach its conclusion as quickly as possible. Anakin found Palpatine's words righteous. They came loaded with an understanding of the fragility of the situation that others lacked. Obi-Wan, on the other hand, held a grim pose, hand over his beard. We know that there are those attempting to take advantage of this conflict, like you, me. It poses a threat to our short-term and long-term stability. The only answer is decisive strategic action. Scattered voices began murmuring from the nearest pods. The rise of extremism necessitates a bold new initiative, the official integration of the Jedi Order into the Grand Army of the Republic. No. Such an action will allow Republic forces to push further, strike harder, and move more swiftly. Shouts came from various pods with applause and cheers sprinkled between them. This initial surge may cause a strong reaction from the Separatists. They may resist, but between the strength of our clone army and Palpatine paused, and Anakin knew him well enough to know that the shift in tone meant the smallest smile crept onto his face. The wisdom of the Jedi. We will defeat the Separatist threat and ensure unity in the Republic. Peace is within our grasp, and now is the time to take it. That smile means that I have their ass right now. It's over. Checkmate. Applause roared from the Senate pods, a patriotic fervor delivering a sustained cheer for the Chancellor, the likes of which Anakin couldn't recall, though to be fair, he didn't really watch many political discussions. Obi-Wan clearly didn't agree. You look unhappy, Anakin whispered. A faster end to the war is a good thing. The Chancellor will be able to take more decisive action now. I already know what accelerated integration means. Of course Obi-Wan would know. In recent days, Anakin's former master received word that the council found his performance in Kid Moria so impressive that his seat would become permanent. If they had any reservation about filling Coleman Trevor's boots though, Obi-Wan didn't show it, at least not to Anakin. Instead, the only constant on Obi-Wan's mind seemed to be the state of the war. Who fought where, what intelligence was learned, and how quickly the skirmishes spread, and how the Republic now had much more influence in Jedi affairs. The Council was informed several days ago, but we were instructed to keep quiet until this formal announcement. Obi-Wan turned without even a final look as Palpatine continued on about General Grievous's recent strike on key supply chains for war munitions. Anakin followed him, a casual stroll in the Senate's near-empty hallways, despite the high alert circumstances swallowing the entire galaxy. A cleaning droid passed by, chirping about being low on charge, but the rest of the building's visitors clustered around Palpatine's speech. We will be generals commanding troops. We're already generals commanding troops. General Skywalker, Anakin said, doing a poor imitation of the clone's accent. No, I mean officially, generals of the Grand Army of the Republic. Padawans will be commanders. The Jedi will hold true military standing in terms of strategy and resources. Our relationship with the Republic will now go far beyond peacekeeping and meditation. Obi-Wan never let his feelings show, but as he continued describing the emerging military responsibilities of the Jedi, his face turned ashen. We will be provided additional weapons and armor. I don't need armor, Anakin said. They stopped in front of the screen broadcasting the holonet and newscast showing recordings of the trial from Kenobi and Anakin soaring in for the rescue. See, does it look like I need armor? Obi-Wan shook his head, Anakin's quip likely interrupting his internal risk/reward calculations of how much armor would impede his agility versus adding the extra layer of protection. What have we gotten ourselves into, he asked with a sigh. Body armor, apparently. The Jedi negotiator, Obi-Wan Kenobi, pled the Republic's case, said the reporter on the holonet as the recording switched to Obi-Wan's speech on Kenobi. Though his words carried a strange cadence, I have seen the evidence. I have seen it in my own investigation as well as data gathered by others. Evidence pointing to the Separatists. That's weird. Did you see that? Anakin asked. Is that when you talked about the Republic materials? The recording cut again to Anakin, this time as he launched his lightsaber through two groups of battle droids. Yo, someone edited the shit out of this tape. Fortunately, Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker was there, truly a hero with no fear as he took on the oncoming armada. A low groan came from Obi-Wan, any levity from quips about body armor seemingly erased. The holonet is nothing but propaganda for politicians. It is not exactly known for its accuracy. Dang, someone edited the shit out of his freaking speech. I don't know, Anakin said with a laugh. Hero with no fear? I thought I looked pretty dashing there. Anakin, I'm serious. He pointed to the action on the screen like something out of a holodrama rather than a news report. You know, if we're going to be on the net together, you might want to cut that hair. What? Any grim hesitation from Obi-Wan disappeared, instantly switching to a surprised defensiveness. Did Obi-Wan actually care about his appearance? Anakin revealed in this evidence of unexpected vanity from his former master, though chose not to disclose how he and Padme mocked Obi-Wan's shoulder-length locks. I'm just saying, people are going to see a lot of us. Us? This was Skywalker and Kenobi as they should be, a team built on emotion and intellect, bravado and control, fire and ice. And despite no longer having the formal bond of master and apprentice, they would always be connected. In fact, they were better this way. Qui-Gon Jinn would have agreed. Anakin was certain of it. Okay, and now we have, I think this is the last chapter with, oh no, we have a few more chapters. Damn. Chapter 53, Mill Alabeth. The hangar bay looked the same as the other times Mill had seen it since Geonosis. At least at first glance, ships came and went. Jedi walked with their Padawans. Clone troopers carried supplies and weapons. But upon closer look, things had changed since the recent Jedi Military Integration Act. Around the galaxy, skirmishes intensified. The shift in Republic policy provoking an increase in separatist activity, leaving scattered battle damage across gunships, and some of the Jedi had adopted plated armor covering their chests, shoulders, and forearms, subtle changes to their tunics to accommodate the change, including Anakin and Obi-Wan, who currently stood over a supply crate examining armor pieces. This is purely a trial period. Anakin lifted his arms and twisted his body. No long-term commitment. He pointed to Obi-Wan's left arm, which now carried a white armored vibrance. I just got used to my arm, now this. I think it's quite practical, Obi-Wan said, turning to examine the Republic crest painted on his shoulder pad. Something else about Obi-Wan looked different, and it took Mill several seconds to put it together. Obi-Wan's once long hair now sat neatly trimmed with a simple part to one side. It's so bulky, I just can't. Anakin paused, then turned. Mill, Master Skywalker. Obi-Wan gave a polite bow as she turned to him. Master Kenobi. You look happy, Anakin said, relief calming his tone. Happy may not have been the right word. Content felt more fitting. A long journey into a deep space as war broke out across the galaxy. Would anyone be happy about that? But Yoda's suggestion that she use her instant abilities to assist Rig Nema in providing specialized medical and spiritual assistance for war-wounded Jedi. Such a task felt far more important than building a lightsaber. We're leaving soon, she pointed far across the bay at the Red Counselor-class cruiser separated from the rows of warships, something designed only for a handful of passengers and medical supplies. Master Nema says our first stop is Valo. Hey, that's the planet where they had that event in the High Republic. You have found your path, youngling, Obi-Wan said. I wish you great success in it. I wouldn't have without Anakin, but before we set out, I wanted to say thank you. Anakin knelt down and took her hands, and though he probably didn't realize it, such an act connected them in the Force the same way it did when they were in deep meditation together above the boarding ramp. She sighed again, as if the Force put Anakin's inner storm directly into her mind. A blanket of deep black, and in the center of it, a bright, burning sphere. No, tiny white dots littered the blanket, a canvas of space, and in the middle of it all sat the molten intensity of a star. During meditation, she saw this, a peek into what must have always been going on inside Anakin's soul. But here, with Master Nema training her abilities for greater control, greater insight, the vision took her into the star, beyond the layers of whipping flares and the surface fire. Deep within the star swirled the form of a dragon, its long body twisting and twirling, and between the flaming claws the dragon clutched something inscrutable, a brilliant fragile light, something that felt like it could either explode or extinguish if the dragon let go for just a second. I believe in you, Mill. Always remember that. Thank you, Master Skywalker. I will. She let go and turned tentative steps toward Master Nema's craft. Her pulse quickened, two paths emerging before her. One where she said something now, and one where she remained quiet. I think you've made an impression on her, Obi-Wan said, probably with the assumption that she was out of earshot. Perhaps you're ready for a Padawan. Speak or silence, the choices weighed on her with each step. What? Absolutely not. That sounds like the worst idea in the galaxy. Mill stopped. She had to. She owed Anakin that much. Mill turned around, then began to walk back. Her movements caught both men's attention, and without any further words, she took Anakin's hands again and looked at the deep blue eyes that suddenly reflected everything she witnessed through the Force. There's something I want you to know. What's that? Master Nema explained Mill's gift as a connection to the way emotions push and pull at the Force. And now she saw into every essence, a smoldering furnace of a heart, a passion so furious that intensity of his feelings might be the very thing to incinerate himself into his worst nightmare. Lord Vader. A cold, withered dragon's final grasp for control. Its brilliant home burned away into a lifeless lump of minerals. The life of a Jedi in all of the Order's forms meant a life of sacrifice, but not the point of self-destruction. He could choose differently if someone just gave him permission. If Mill never crossed paths with Anakin Skywalker again, she hoped that she might offer a single truth, a drop in the ocean that might ripple out with unseen possibilities. You don't always have to be the Sun Dragon. All around them, clones moved quickly, sometimes sprinting to a transport. Droids pulled supplies and weapons on repulsor lifts. Jedi Knights and Padawans walked in pairs, talking and pointing. Ships lifted and zoomed out, or stumbled inside and damaged wings or tails or thrusters, bringing them to a shaky return home. In between all of that, Anakin's face froze. Mill blocked it all out, even Obi-Wan's reaction, whatever it was, and focused only on Anakin as he slowly closed his eyes, silent. She let go of his hand and walked toward her future with Master Nema. Dang, she said, you don't have to always give in to your impulses. You definitely don't want to see Anakin again, little one. Yeah, that wouldn't be great. I'm hoping, I don't know if her new assignments put her with clones, but I'm hoping that she, when Order 66 happened, she was nowhere near clones at all. Chapter 54, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Had Obi-Wan ever seen Anakin stunned like that, not speechless like when Obi-Wan expressed his gratitude on the rooftop during their escape, and not shocked like when the Republic swooped in over the Geonosian area, but the eyes-closed silence, resulting from a single sentence carrying the weight of the galaxy. He'd overheard Anakin tell Mill part of the Sun Dragon story right after they landed on Coruscant, but he simply assumed that it was a tale parents told their children, a fable to steer them in the right direction. This clearly struck Anakin in a much deeper way. Was it because of whatever happened on Tatooine with his mother? Or because of his bond with Mill? Or something to do with Padme? Or all of it? Anakin, he said softly, putting one hand on the arm and shoulder of his former Padawan. I have known you since you were a little boy, and not once did you tell me about the Sun Dragon. Anakin opened his eyes and turned to Obi-Wan, a rare wistfulness to light in his pupils. My mother, he started, his voice trailing off, and Obi-Wan realized that Anakin might be really much more than a childhood fable. Perhaps he was finding a way to discuss the recent events on Tatooine, the thing he'd been so cryptically avoiding. My mother, Anakin said again. Obi-Wan gave him space, an invitation for Anakin to finally disclose what had really happened. Why it so clearly troubled him. For a moment, Obi-Wan chastised himself for not asking earlier, for not simply acknowledging out loud that he'd be available whenever the truth was ready to surface. On Tatooine, Anakin continued, but such coercion felt against the Jedi way. They lived a life guided by flow, not emotion. Anakin still had to master that fact. Obi-Wan told himself to be patient, and when Anakin was ready, then he would be ready in return. Whether that was now or later. If a war slowed that down, then they would figure it out at the right time. The galaxy, after all, needed them at this moment. My mother, he said one more time before taking in a large gulp of air, and the light shifted in his eyes. She would tell me that story on the hard nights. Obi-Wan smiled, then tucked away his own feelings on the matter for later. More appropriate time. It's something I kept close. I only seek it when I need to remember what should guide me. His eyes dropped, then his hands adjusted the armor over his chest. I've only told a few people about that. His lips pursed, and Obi-Wan let him be whenever he was until Anakin's focus returned to the hangar bay, surrounded by machines of war. A few people. Did he tell Padme that story? Anakin glanced up, then reached down to the supply crate on their feet for a white armored sleeve before handing it to Obi-Wan. Maybe I'll tell you the full story soon. Over lunch, he said, his mood resetting. It's been a while since I've been to Dex's. This tale clearly meant something to Anakin beyond the usual importance of a child's favorite parable, and if he told Padme about it, if he let her behind his defenses, then perhaps she also knew much more, and Obi-Wan stopped himself there and letting the thought pass, along with the urge to either confront Anakin about his infatuations or tell the Jedi Council his concerns. Instead, he asked himself a simple question, one that crystallized the truth of Anakin's past, present, and future. Did he believe that Anakin would make the right choice when called upon? No. Obi-Wan watched as Anakin looked at Mill, tracking the youngling with pride across the hangar bay as she strode with confidence. That single look presented the answer, plain as day, because Anakin had given that to Mill, not with the Force training or lightsaber techniques, but simply by caring, by being Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one. Without hesitation, without questioning or searching for justification, Obi-Wan found himself saying yes. Qui-Gon Jinn had a pure and unwavering faith in Anakin. Obi-Wan was merely the conduit for that now. And that was all he needed to know. Obi-Wan attached the armor to his forearm, then moved in precise defensive motions, seeing if the molded pieces of plastoid alloy inhibited him in any way. Just say the word and I'll have Dex reserve our table. Footsteps approached, a clone trooper with yellow trim across his helmet trotting up to break their conversation. General, he said, the report you requested. Obi-Wan took the datapad from the clone's outstretched hand before giving a quick nod of acknowledgement. Anakin angled for a look, and Obi-Wan turned the datapad to show him the latest findings. Thank you. Oh, there's our boy. Thank you, Commander Cody. I look forward to working with you more. From Kea Nemoidia, Anakin asked, his brow narrowing as he squinted at the screen. Any pull toward personal history now reset to the context of war. Indeed, but not quite. The business we were involved in. A prisoner transport crashed several days ago on the surface. The official story is that all 5 prisoners aboard died. Obi-Wan ran his hand through his now trim hair. He scanned through the details on the screen, searching for something concrete, then held it up for Anakin to see. There it is. Anakin pointed in a single line on the datapad screen. Only 4 bodies were found. File upon file swiped by a comprehensive list of prisoner histories, transport schematics, crash site investigations, and other key details put together by the Republic intelligence. And one unidentified prisoner is simply presumed dead. Obi-Wan locked eyes with Anakin. A galaxy of possibilities now between them. Shall we go to Dex's now? He does cook well, but I really go more for the conversation. Anakin set his armor piece back into the supply crate, then gestured at the exit. It's like you said, whenever it's us, things get complicated. Which was true, but recently weeks had also shown the other side of that. As long as they were together, complications were no challenge, not for Kenobi and Skywalker. Though they strode forward together with purpose, Obi-Wan caught Anakin looking back over his shoulder. He tracked his gaze across the bay to Master Nema's ship as it elevated off the floor, taking Mil Alabeth to her destiny, while the two of them walked off toward their own. Dang, if they never got separated, things might turn out different maybe. Damn, Cody's showing up in the last chapters. I know, right? I was hoping we were going to hear something about Captain Rex, but nah. Michi wants to give money out again. Alright, so this is the epilogue. Rug Quarnom. Rug had pledged her life to the Neimoidian people, so it seemed fitting that she stared down her end somewhere on the surface of Cael Neimoidia. Since escaping from the disabled prisoner transport, she landed somewhere far beneath the city of Caer Uneris, ankle possibly shattered, but a splint and he shattered her ankle. But a splint and cane crafted from vines and branches got her at least to a place free of wildlife dangers. Enough shelter of wood and rocks and mist to think of some possible plan, and though her options were few, she thought she had a chance. After all, she was a mere political prisoner. Why would she be worth the hunt? Then she saw the platoon attack craft landed, quickly followed by the familiar sound of the battle droid unfurling in unison, a clack, clack, clack of activation. So many came into sight through the thick mist. In fact, it demonstrated just how many the Trade Federation factories pumped out, as if the war machines were mere data pads for students across the galaxy. Rug estimated nearly 100 fanned out, marching forward with their clanking rhythm, the occasional mechanized voice reporting scans. But in the distance, something appeared. A glow. No, two glows. Oh, damn. And despite being cornered between rocks and trees, half buried under leaves and the 6-foot cell, Rug found herself leaning forward, watching in amazement as the back row of battle droids simply disappeared. Then it happened to another row, and another, a systematic eraser, and Rug blinked to see if perhaps the mist simply got thicker and masked the droids. But no, those two little blue lights buzzed through the droids came from behind, cutting through them like a knife through Nerf butter. The battle droids finally noticed that their numbers were rapidly diminishing, and nearly in sync, they all turned and began a hail of outward blaster fire, and the red blaster fire bolts spiraled off in every direction, the blue glows deflecting them as easily as rain bouncing off a speeder's windshield. The blue beams moved in complete harmony, two ends of an infinite tether, one a blunt instrument attacking with frightening speed and power, and the other a graceful dance of precise violence. Where one moved, the other complemented. Where one attacked, the other defended. Oh, this sounds like Obi-Wan and Anakin. Where one swept, the other struck. They charged through the battalion, brilliant laser swords, and controlled the hurricane that whipped apart row upon row of battle droids until the last one fell with a mechanical groan. They moved forward in determined silence toward Rug, her hand gripped beneath her, dirt and shed corgi fur between her fingers, and her eyes blinking through the thick of Cael Neimoidia air, pulse thickening as she saw her future in front of her. Through the mist, two silhouettes emerged, the glow of their blades giving off enough light to eliminate any doubt of who approached, of who could pull off something as impossible as this rescue. There stood Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, brothers in arms with the Jedi Order, and together they were unstoppable. Oh dang! So they saved Rug. Surprisingly, we never see her. We never see her in the Clone Wars. And that was the end of Brotherhood. And just like that. Dang, this book was awesome. I highly recommend. Like, there's more Star Wars books like this. I highly recommend. If you guys don't read books, at least read Star Wars books. Most of them are pretty dang good, especially when it comes to like Jedi stuff. But yeah, that is the end of Brotherhood. We did it. We did it just in time for Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is today. Some of you probably already saw it. Some of you are probably going to see it later today. I am going to see it later today with the beans, and it is going to be freaking awesome. I can't wait. Nice job reading all of it, pal. Thank you. I absolutely enjoyed it. That book is fantastic, so it wasn't work at all. Like, I enjoy reading that book. I'll definitely do a review on the book, Beans, for the D4 channel, because this book deserves a review and a shout out, because that is amazing. Who wrote this book, by the way? Let me see. Mike Chen. Mike Chen wrote this book. That man did an amazing job. Yeah, I'm gonna be very excited to do the review. I'm probably gonna do it probably tomorrow. I'll probably do the review and just edit it tomorrow. I'm thinking about doing that. Yeah. So that is a Star Wars book club stream. We won't be doing the book club for a bit. take a little bit of a rest. I'll probably replace Thursday with something else. Cause I want to wait till the when the High Republic book come out, so I can do it in timeline order, and then we'll resume the book club stuff. But it was an absolute pleasure sharing some of the Star Wars canon with you all. Yep, just put it on the I'll redo in the schedule starting next week. Michi, I appreciate you being on the streams, of course, and I appreciate my boy Nose if he's still in the chat. And I appreciate all of you. Thank you for the amazing and interactive audiobook. Anytime, Beans, anytime. You'll definitely have more interactive audiobooks in the future. So, of course, stay tuned to Papa Sheev Palpatine. But yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Gonna rest my voice for a little bit. Chillax. Beans, I'll see you in probably 3-4 hours. And then we're gonna watch Kenobi! I see him in my mind's eye. I can't freaking wait, bro. It's gonna be... Bro, I'm so freaking hyped. Now I gotta sip my tea and do my group project. Oh, yeah. Sip your tea, girl. And rest up. Because we have a Star Wars filled day ahead of us. Thank you, Michi. Love you. Because we delayed the hell out of our project. Make sure you get that homework done. Alright, guys, I'll see you later. Bye. Thank you, Nose. I appreciate you. I'm awaiting your stream if you're not streaming already. I'll see you guys later. Bye.